Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another installment of the most legendary, the most epic, the most astonishing, the most brain-melting of debate reviews. We're back with part 2 of Destiny versus Dinesh D'Souza. Part 1, of course, is over on Mark's channel. If you haven't seen it, it is linked in the description. But you should be subscribed at Mark's anyway, because we alternate. We go back and forth. Every other week we're here. Every other week we're there. So you got to subscribe to both. Thank you for joining us. How are you, Mark?
I'm good. I'm pretty tired, but I'm actually looking forward to this a little bit. I really want to give D'Souza a hard time. Look, that last one. What an absolute pillock. It's getting real bad from these people. I don't know. I'm good. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty tired, but I'm pretty good. Yes.
All right. Where did it go? What the hell? Oh, whatever.
It's all
so
gone.
I was telling Mark before the show started, I had a super chat in here that didn't make any sense. And now it's gone. It's not even whatever. I just
didn't
work
make
here.
Any sense. Must have been D'Souza's super chat. Wasn't it from Jester? Wasn't it from Jester? I saw it flash up briefly. Yeah. So you should be able to find it in your YouTube studio if you want to do that. But I really wanted to talk about part 1, and that's that.
Yeah.
The performance of D'Souza, really, he's just yelling at people and saying propagandistic talking points, like yelling them at people. It really was shocking how bad the performance was and how performative it came across as. Like, it wasn't just performative, but it came across as just performative. It was terrible. It's definitely the worst I've ever seen D'Souza do, and that's saying something. You know, I thought he was bad against Christopher Hitchens. Oh no, he's got multiple levels of terribleness. And as time, I was sort of saying to Em before the show, as time goes on, like, this was only done. This debate was what, a month ago or something. Like, it was done start of the year or something like that. It wasn't that long ago that was done, and it's looking frigging terrible now. Like, all of the stuff that D'Souza's saying, like the insanity of what's being done is really evident. It really is. This is going to be one that I think D'Souza will regret. But he's got no choice, right? Because he got a pardon from Trump. He is obligated to him. He's under the bully's thumb. He owes the bully his life, and that's not a place that you want to be, because that debt is never going to be repaid, right? He's always going to owe something to that man. But I did like Destiny's performance. He didn't try to, sort of go back at him with the same level of performativeness. He just sort of asked very inconvenient questions. But the difference between the two is night and day. Like, one person is just calmly talking, and the other is sort of just barking propaganda at the audience. It's really, really obnoxiously awful. You'll see.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, even the body language, Destiny is just kind of calm and like, tell me more. And Dinesh is like, oh, no, but wait, let me explain. So this is about where we left off, which, oh, alas, it's only 45 minutes out of 2.5 hours. Now, I'm sure there's like a Q&A in here somewhere or something.
Yeah,
but
probably, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have the exact metrics. It's just, in fact, we're in the middle of a hold on, let me explain. Is where we paused. And of course, he doesn't actually ever explain anything, at least so far. So we'll see how it goes. So thank you all so much for joining us. If you're watching in the future, hello, future people, and subscribe. You could watch us live. It's more fun when you're live. These are worth watching after the fact, because we cover a lot of points. Mark breaks down a lot of the logic and the argumentation. I break down a lot of the rhetoric. And between the two of us, we often see a bunch of cool stuff that the other didn't, which is why we do them together.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, join us. It'll be fun. All right,
And
here we go.
also the audience spots lots of stuff too. And if you've got takes on things and think that, hey, this is a good take, absolutely. We always enjoy the audience pointing out stuff that we've missed, because that's awesome, because we missed it. Why wouldn't we want more voices in the arena? That's a good thing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And
There is no disagreement factually. Okay.
well, there is a disagreement factually, and we can look at the facts of that case if you want.
Okay,
The
I
point I'm trying
might
to make is this.
just give a backstory. So the thrust of Destiny's main argument that he started off with is that it's gotten so partisan that the right and the left cannot actually agree on what facts are. Like, there is a problem here that something will occur, and, like, I don't know, for instance, some sort of officer cracking down on people being in the country illegally will claim to have been run over and brutally run over by some woman who he then shot in the face. And even though the video evidence is very clear, when you actually get the video evidence in what happened there, that she didn't brutally run him over, she wasn't trying to run him over, the administration basically says, yes, he was brutally run over by this woman who is now a terrorist. So we can't even agree on the basic facts, even when there is video evidence right in front of us showing us what in fact happened. And that's a problem. So D'Souza's been doing apologetics this entire time. Well, yeah, opinions aren't facts, and you can interpret facts in different ways. But the difference is that, we didn't used to disagree on the basic facts themselves, right? You can say, hey, say, for instance, you can sort of say, hey, the ICE agents in Minneapolis, they're really cracking down on protesters. They're basically pushing back against what they're doing, kind of thing. They're going into shops and things like that to capture people in the country illegally. Whether that's a good or a bad thing is an opinion. Whether they're doing that is a fact. And the administration is coming out saying, oh, they're not pushing their way into shops, they're not doing these things, they're not, when it's a fact that they are. That's the problem here.
Yeah, but that's sort of the whole propaganda thing. That's the main thrust of it, is they read 1984 and assumed it was a handbook. So they'll show you a video that shows clearly one set of facts. And while that video is playing, they will tell you a story that is completely contradictory. And they expect you to believe what you're told in spite of what you're seeing on screen right then. And half the country seems to be doing it. I don't fucking get it.
I don't know. Like, so here's the thing. I don't think half the country is believing the facts as they were that are presented to them by this administration. I think that a large number of them simply don't care. Like, they don't care whether they're lying or whether they're not, as long as they're accomplishing their goals. There is probably a segment of the population that does believe them when they do these facts. But from seeing a lot of these apologists like D'Souza, I don't think D'Souza's believing the bullshit that he's saying. I think he just thinks that the ends justify the means. That's my opinion. I mean, you can disagree. That's my opinion. I think that a lot of them know that this is bullcrap. Like, this is just made up stuff. But they're seeing it as, well, if we can get our Christian utopia, it justifies it.
Maybe that's what apologists have always done, and now it's bled into politics. I don't know. It's hard to tell what a person genuinely believes. Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
If somebody who's trying to get you on real estate fraud is themselves engaging in real estate fraud, there's a certain delicious irony in exposing that in retaliation. It's not that you're framing her for doing something she didn't do. Let's for a moment grant that she did it.
So context. Destiny didn't even bring this up. This is a self-owned by D'Souza because he has been convicted of campaign finance violations because he sent money to somebody and tried to cover it up as not a campaign contribution. So he is a convicted criminal that was pardoned by Trump, kind of thing, right? Like this is the thing. The other thing is that Destiny didn't bring this up. He just sort of brought up crimes, and D'Souza leaned into this, and he's basically pointing at I think Letitia James doing real estate fraud when in actual fact she has been convicted of no such thing, and that essentially has been tossed because she did not commit real estate fraud. In fact, it is the prosecutor who is one of Trump's sort of lawyer henchmen. That woman's in trouble because she may have allegedly I don't know if this is true or not, but she may have lied to the grand jury in order to get that indictment, which puts her in a serious position as one of the highest law enforcement officers in the country, who also had never prosecuted any crime before going after Letitia James. In fact, she was like a real estate lawyer. She was, in no way had the credentials to go and prosecute anybody for anything.
Wow. So I looked up a little bit of details about her case, and TLDR, they couldn't even get an indictment. The initial indictment was dismissed in November of this past November, and a subsequent attempt for a new indictment by a grand jury failed in December. Like they keep trying to, they can't even get the indictment, which for anybody who isn't familiar with legal processes in the US is the very first step in starting a case.
Yes, and it is said in legal circles, and the apparently the phrase that they use is you can indict a ham sandwich, which means that it is so easy to get an indictment that you can anything can be indicted. So it was Lindsay Halligan, that's the one, who is Donald Trump's former personal attorney. Insanely unqualified. She probably had no right to be in the position that she had, which is
No, she definitely
the US.
didn't.
She didn't.
There's so much tea about Lindsay Halligan. Right. And if you want to get into the details on that, Legal Eagle has a couple of episodes specifically about that. There's there's a law journalist, I forget her name offhand, but she does some reporting for Devin's channel. And Lindsay Halligan messaged her directly and sent her classified info and shit.
And that was wild. That is absolutely wild. And then retroactively said, this conversation is off the record, of course. And the legal reporter is like, well, no, you didn't agree to talk to me under those terms. Because if you're talking to a reporter, the first thing you say is, hey, I will talk to you off the record. And the reporter then has the option to say, yes, I'll talk to you off the record, or no, it has to be on the record. But she didn't do that. What she did is just talk to them like a buddy, like just a friend, and you're talking to a reporter. That's not off the record. You can't retroactively say, oh no, all this information I gave you is off the record. No, you can't do that. That is not how anything works. So Halligan's not legally appointed. I think it's the niece or the the cousin, whoever was renting the house, or when I say renting, they were only paying, like they weren't paying for the house rental for a long time. From Letitia James said that they didn't even go to the grand indictment to give evidence, so to the grand jury to give evidence, which is wild because they are the central person. So something really fucky wucky's happened there, and Lindsay Halligan may be in a lot, and I mean a lot of trouble.
For a whole lot of reasons, but tangents upon
Yes.
tangents. I mean, yes,
Yes,
people
but
come here for the tangents.
well, it isn't. It's background for what Dinesh D'Souza is talking about here, and he's sort of counted his chickens before he's hatched, going, "Oh, we're going to secure the conviction of Letitia James, so I can say, isn't it ironic that somebody who has busted? I think he busted D'Souza. Letitia James busted D'Souza. She prosecuted him, so he's sort of saying, oh, well, she's been done for the same thing. Isn't that irony delicious? It's like, yeah, it was kind of a malicious prosecution, like a prejudiced prosecution. Of course, it's not really irony in that case. It's just them trying to get her for literally anything, and this was the best they could come up with.
Yeah, because that's, I mean, the whole Team Trump side of things has been, oh, we're going to get her as soon as we have power for what she did, getting me 34 convictions. How dare she?
Yeah.
Even though it turned into fucking nothing, because the judge, I don't know what the fuck the judge was thinking. Probably trying to avoid a constitutional crisis, but fucking hell. Anyhow.
Actually, it was the Southern District, not Virginia, that got Dinesh D'Souza. So I don't know why he's talking about Letitia James, but it was Preet Bharara.
Yeah. Letitia James is it's the same area where Trump got his convictions.
Right. And, as we said, like the Southern District was famous for going after powerful people and putting them away, which should be the case. No one should be above the law.
The same area.
Right. No one should be above the law. Not you, not I, not the president, not Dinesh D'Souza. Nobody should be. And that's the whole point. And that's what this entire Epstein thing is all about. There should not be one law for the people with money and power and one law for just the average person on the street. It should be the same law applies to all. That is the social contract. We will only obey the law if you fuckers are subject to it as well.
Coincidentally.
Do not break the social contract. You will not like the results. You will not like what happens.
Coincidentally, I was listening to Dr. Kip's audiobook. God's Propaganda is out on audiobook now, in case you missed the memo. And I was listening to it as I was driving. And he just started a new chapter where he starts talking about all the various law codes in the Near East and how far back they go. Like the law of Hammurabi, the code of Hammurabi it's actually kind of somewhere in the middle. We have several that are even older. And he says this kind of goes to show that law is a foundational element of a civilization. If not, if you don't have codified law, you just have a warlord ruling by whim, and that's not a civilization,
I think the oldest one we found is the code of Nesh or something. It's like this really old one, and its similarity to the commandments of the Bible is actually surprising. Namu or something like that. Code of Namu.
It sounds like about right.
Just a slate kind of thing. It's in Samaria.
Yeah, there a bunch of the old stuff has the name in it because that was one of the first cities in the region. I believe Gilgamesh was king of at one point.
Right, right. So among the surviving laws, if a man commits a murder, that man must be killed. If a man commits a robbery, he will be killed. If a man commits a kidnapping, he is to be imprisoned and pay 15 shekels of silver. If a man marries a slave and that slave is set free, he does not leave the household. You know, this is very similar to the Old Testament laws, right?
Mm-hmm. Why is the money called a shekel?
That's like saying, why is it called a dollar? Why anything?
Yeah, like, well, I get it that countries just name their money whatever, but I've been noticing that a lot of traditions.
Except England. Like, they have the pound, right? And that's
Yeah.
because it was a pound of sterling silver. Right? That was the weight of, the thing. It's a pound sterling.
Okay, yeah, a shekel is just a unit of weight. Yeah, okay,
Okay.
that makes sense.
There you go. That does make sense.
Yeah. So, because I was wondering, like, so many things of the very, very ancient traditions seem to persist for thousands and thousands of years, and then suddenly they all start changing around the same time for no apparent reason. And I'm like, what the hell happened? Trying to pin down. It's probably that telescoping effect of history. Like, once empires start running around and cultures start mixing, it's the work of several centuries, but it looks like an instant when you're looking at a time scale of 10,000 years,
Right. Apparently dollar comes from German thaler, which I've heard before. I think it was in a video game that I played, actually, like thaler. Huh.
Daylight, you don't gotta put on your red light. I'm mixing my songs. I know. Don't mind me.
That's okay.
Google's giving me interesting results. One United States dollar is worth 3.15 Israeli new shekels. Apparently. Okay. Oh, for fucking sake. Whatever.
What message?
Are you saying that because it's
what's that?
Moondog said, I'm still waiting for my Epstein hush money 2000 check. I didn't forget. And like, for some reason, Google like hid it until it was released. There was nothing in there that, okay, that's sus. That's sus. I want some susses in the chat, quite frankly. That is sus.
We need to borrow this sus emoji from Mark's channel.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, go on. I just thought that was weird and strange that there was nothing in there that was in any, they weren't saying fuck it. Moondog, I'm confused as you, mate. I really am.
Trump, he doesn't have any right to bring charges against her, even if they're true. And moreover, let's say that they bring the charges back and she's found guilty. Will you change your opinion?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I would change my opinion and follow. Yeah, of course.
But just because they found her guilty, let's just say they took
you would look at the underlying facts, but I would say, and this is where I'll grant to you, I'm definitely sympathetic of the president having these feelings. Maybe, and you can, I don't know, maybe we'll meet in the middle here. Maybe it would be good if we had a independent attorney general who wasn't taking direct orders from the president, especially if we're saying he might be a vindictive man-child, and that person should have the luxury of operating independently, like in every other presidential administration past, instead of taking direct orders from the president, who might, as you've just laid out an excuse for, engage in vindictive prosecutions of political opponents.
We now...
Special prosecutors?
Yeah.
What? What an amazing idea.
And he can't even, due to the sheer incompetence of this president, he can't even say, he hasn't given orders to his prosecutors, because this is after he accidentally tweeted or truthed or whatever the hell his thing is, to all of his followers, telling Pam Bondi to go after James Comey and Letitia James. He told everybody that, and then denied it was done in error, because someone that narcissistic can't say, well, I made a mistake, I shouldn't have, and then had to concede. It's gone. what the? It shouldn't be gone. Anyway, he can't say that because that's been documented that Trump accidentally told everybody who to go after.
Mm-hmm. It's just it's out there. They're screenshots. Like, what do you want,
Yeah.
my guy? Oh, other things that could be screenshots. I'm bad at segues today. It's all good. Left-handed Jedi sent us a super chat for approximately 16 shekels, if I remember that conversion correctly.
Yeah.
And Jedi says, any of several ancient units of weight, especially a Hebrew unit, equal to about a half an ounce is a shekel. So yay. It just amuses me that dollars convert to shekels, which represent weights, and so it's, I don't know. I'm glad we learned that today. So, aside from dunking on Dinesh, that's a whole extra thing we picked up today.
We now know from the Biden years that all the cases, including the state cases, were being filtered through not the Attorney General's office, but the Biden White House. Why
That's
do you
not
think?
true.
Hold on. Well, it's not true.
It's not true.
I mean, stating it doesn't make it so.
And I know, I agree.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, D'Souza, you've just made a claim. You need to back up that claim with some evidence. But the thing is, you've trapped yourself. This is a self-own, because if you say, well, show that Trump is working, with the DOJ, is directly commanding the DOJ. We have evidence of that. Very reliable evidence coming from Trump.
Mm-hmm. He'll happily tell you. I just love the he just throws out these thought stopper platitudes that just saying something doesn't make it true, not realizing as he says them that destiny is immediately going to turn them around and be like, that applies to you, my guy. Saying bullshit doesn't make it true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no forethought at all. He's just spewing bull. He's been hanging out with Trump too long. That may be the problem.
Yeah, maybe. He's got that Trump brain.
Yeah.
Where's your evidence?
He caught RFK's brainworm.
Oh, wow. Look,
It's for any of them.
Robert Kennedy, I mean, just another contagion that man spreads would not be surprising. Like, seriously, wow. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Real. I mean, it takes all of us together to even put a fraction of a dent in the bullshit these fuckers are spreading. A few hours ago, Dr. Ben was doing a new medical myths episode. Once again, he had to take the thing he wanted to talk about and shelve it because RFK came out with a new food pyramid that's it's an MLM because it's an upside down pyramid, and it just oh my fuck, it just never stops with these fuckers.
And it
ever.
had like red meat at the top, which we
The
know
war on
that
protein.
an excess of red meat can cause problems. Like it's you want a healthy, balanced diet, but this is like, a real man eats all. It's like, what are you doing? Like, seriously, you're not there to promote your ideology. You're there for the health of the American people, which wasn't fantastic before and is just going to get worse. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
And I don't mean individuals, I mean overall,
On a somewhat related note, I recently had to change medicines. One of the medicines that I have to take daily, I ran out of the American kind and I had to acquire some from overseas, shall we say. And it's a very different shape. It's supposedly the same medicine, but let's say the original that I had was the size of my thumb. The replacement is like half the size of my pinky nail. It is a very tiny tablet, but it's supposedly the same medicine. And at first I was worried. What if, it's just garbage with the same label on it? But now I'm thinking, what if it works better because the American version is just full of unnecessary filler nonsense. Like, I don't know. I'll find out, but it's a difference, right?
Oh,
Like
I
the Russian
wouldn't. I
girl
wouldn't
has
presume
tablets that
to.
size, and the American one is this size, and I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, I wouldn't presume to even question that. I really wouldn't.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes. The last time I missed one day of that medicine, I felt like absolute crap within the
Yeah.
day. Today's the first day on it, but okay so far, at least as far as that
Okay.
goes.
Okay, that's good.
So,
Look,
yeah.
I mean, I have one medication that if I don't take it, I feel a bit sketchy. But I changed my ADHD medicine recently, and that it's sort of I've had a bit of trouble sleeping now that I've changed it, but I'm hoping it does better for me because I've been all over the place recently. So hopefully that goes better. But yeah.
It's relatable, but yeah,
Yeah.
overall improvements once brains get used to
Mm.
things. It's
Yeah.
hopefully it works out for the best.
Yeah.
My Unfinished Sock says, don't be a human projector. Like and share the stream instead. It's good advice.
But
I
I
mean,
think
all of
I
this.
really want to say, like, when it comes to medication, listen to your doctor. Don't just take the word of idiots on the internet like me or Ember or some person on the internet saying take ivermectin to do this or that. Listen to the people who are experts in it. And I know there's problems with the American healthcare system and the Australian healthcare system and big pharma in general. And that's something that we've got to address. But any medication, any drug, anything at all, you really need to be cautious and careful with it. Anything at all.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely no medical advice here. Just talking about
Right.
my own experience
Yes.
with dealing with
And that's totally
the medical
fine. Yeah,
industry.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Where's
Okay.
the evidence that her was
All right.
influenced by Garland? Where's your
Okay.
evidence that her was
right,
influenced
let me
by
ask you
Biden?
this.
Where's the evidence of Biden giving direction to
Okay.
Merrick Garland? Where's the evidence of NARA or the FBI behaving improperly with regards to the Mar-a-Lago case?
Okay.
Where's the evidence that Jack Smith was told by anybody to do his investigation what he did? There's no evidence of any of this stuff.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah, it's just conspiracy threading. It's just
Yeah.
he this and this and this and this and this, and also the moon is fake. What are we doing?
Yeah, it's like he's got a double standard. He's got like, and this is something we see in theological stuff a lot. You're basically saying, oh, well, there's no evidence for this thing when there's a ton of evidence for it, say evolution, and there's all this evidence for God when there is literally none. Like it is this double standard that you're basically going, well, the trees can just be evidence of God, but even though we have, all of like thousands upon thousands, like libraries of studies into evolution, that doesn't count. It's that double standard that really is, and I love that he jumped on that. I really do.
Hell yeah. I mean, it's a great tactic. It's a great thing. Like, if you can catch your opponent in the moment, it only works in this sort of back and forth debate in this fashion. If you have to wait your turn for a rebuttal and then call it out, it's less impactful. You still should do it. You shouldn't let them get away with it. But if you can do it in like a back and forth conversation like this, just stomp right on it.
Yeah.
Don't let them get away with it. Because not only does it derail their conspiracy train, it makes them look weak because they're just throwing bullshit out there.
How many times did either Fani Willis or her lover show up in Washington, D.C. and meet with the Biden administration? How many times?
It doesn't matter. That doesn't mean it's
Doesn't
filtered through the
matter.
White House.
Okay.
The president isn't allowed to talk to anybody now, or else it counts as improper
So you're saying
behavior?
it's perfectly fine for them to go to the White House and have a conversation, but You know what? They were talking about a bunch of other stuff unrelated to these prosecutions.
Like when Donald Trump
All right.
calls Putin for
Hold
2
on,
hours
hold
after
on.
kicking out every world leader from the
Let me ask
Oval
you this.
Office. The
Let me ask you
president
this.
is allowed to have conversations with people. If something improper is happening, I would want to know about it, but you would hope that people are reporting on it or that people have some kind of evidence of it, like we do for all of the improper conversations that Trump has, like when Giuliani made a phone call to Zelensky's aide, or when Trump made a phone call to Zelensky to threaten to withhold aid, or like when Trump made the phone call to Raffensperger to try to rig the election in Georgia, or like when
That's
any of
all.
the other...
This is all bullshit upon bullshit.
Wait, those calls are
It
recorded.
really
We've
isn't.
listened to them. We can hear the phone call.
Yep, and this is the problem. This is exactly what Destiny is talking about. We hear a phone call, right? This has been documented, completely documented. I've heard it myself, and I'm not even in the country. Like, this has gone around the world. That Trump called up the guy in Georgia, I think it was the governor in Georgia, and basically said it was Raffensperger, and said, we need to find 10,000 votes. Look, guys, give me a break. It's only 10,000. We need to find them, right? In a clear request for him to find these votes, right? Like, just find them. And it is so obvious what he was doing. It's ridiculous. And, you know, he brought Merrick Garland. I want to say, Destiny addressed this earlier, that Merrick Garland was so cautious about impropriety that he really, he did Trump the best favor ever in not prosecuting him because of the appearance of impropriety, right? Like, he basically, like, I don't think if Biden's administration was giving Merrick Garland marching orders, then, you know, they were absolutely on Trump's side, quite frankly, because he is going to go down as one of the most ineffective prosecutors, because in order to prevent any sort of appearance of impropriety of prosecuting the opposition, he did not do his fucking job and prosecute a lawbreaker. He went too far the other way. And like, all the Democrats agree on that. He went far too far the other way in not prosecuting someone who should have been. You know, so using Merrick Garland talking to Biden is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it drives me so fucking crazy, because, like, I get why he did it. It seemed at the time that Trump would never be a threat again, and so why risk the political shade of going after your predecessor and giving Republicans cover for that kind of bullshit, even knowing that if Trump got power, that's exactly what he would do.
Yes.
It seemed like I can't agree with the decision, but I see why he was thinking that way at the time. Like, no, drag your feet, because we don't want it to appear that we're going after a predecessor. Like, fuck appearances. You have to do your job first, and appearances second. That's why statecraft is part of a politician's skill set. It's not just winning elections. You have to be able to get the job done and do it diplomatically.
Well, I think that absolutely you have to be cautious and basically make sure that if you are prosecuting somebody who is a political opponent of your boss, that you have crossed your T's and dotted your I's, that you have, you know, clear and demonstrable evidence that is solid and irrefutable in order to proceed. But he had that. Like, you know, it is like, I think it's more to do with what you're saying, Ember, that you know, Trump was done. After his first term was so terrible, he was done, basically. Turns out he wasn't. You know, surprises everybody. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, this is wild speculation. And I might add that it's interesting that what Destiny says here about documentation, because it's okay to meet these people and it's supposed to be recorded, right? Because everything the administration is doing through is supposed to be recorded, not only for posterity, but also for accountability. But it wasn't Biden posting on a third-party app, in this case, Truth Social, private messages to the Department of Justice. That was Trump, right? And their signal chats, which are deleted after a certain amount of time. I think this administration will go down as the least transparent and the I mean, they break the law all the time by using signal chats, because these conversations, even if they are sensitive, needs to be documented and held in the archives to say, hey, this is what the government talked about as their official capacity. This is what they did. That is transparency. That is accountability, so that at some point down the line, they can be released to the public when it no longer is sensitive information. This administration is not doing that. In fact, they're not taking note and recording of everything that they're doing, which is absolutely scary. That's how you get secret police and secret conversations and undermined conversations, and just this kind of dark government that isn't accountable to the people.
It's what they think. They think they're not accountable to the people. And yeah.
Okay, so let's start with
What's that?
No. They're deluded then. They're always going to be accountable to the people one way or another.
Eventually, yes.
Yes.
the Raffensperger call.
Why don't we go to the Mar-a-Lago stuff? Let's just figure that out.
We are, but what we're doing with Mar-a-Lago is we're trying to...
Did Donald Trump take classified information from the White House?
Yes.
He wasn't supposed to have it at Mar-a-Lago.
Maybe.
What do you mean maybe? Was it Mar-a-Lago?
Maybe.
Is that it?
He can't even admit the obvious known fact.
Yeah, but the next question, he knows that the next question is going to be, did he hide that stuff when they came to reclaim it? And the answer to that is a very well documented yes. He tried to hide it. We all know that because Trump himself, in the incredibly stupid way that he doesn't deny it. He doesn't say, oh, I never tried to hide it. No, what he says is, oh, those were unclassified because I unclassified them in my mind.
Yes, the mental classification.
Right. He doesn't deny the criming that he's doing. He simply makes excuses for it. And in the long run, like it seems to serve him because his followers go, yeah. But when you're talking to somebody else who's not in that particular echo chamber, they'll go, did Trump hide the documents that he took? No. Then why did he say he had a right to them and keep them?
Mm-hmm. What are we doing? Nobody knows.
I don't know.
It's fine.
I don't know.
It's not fine.
Secured, classified.
It doesn't matter. The issue is
it
not
does
that. The issue
is the issue. You
just said intentionality, and I'm saying
we haven't gotten the intentionality yet. Are you allowed to have classified material knowingly outside of a secured, classified area?
You might under certain circumstances. Yes.
If you want, there are like 10 different.
Dinesh doesn't know anything about how classified information works.
Right. There's regulations regarding classified information, where you can have it, who you can share it with. Even before Trump's first term, there was a scandal where he showed people at Mar-a-Lago some stuff. Like there was always this thing of Trump boasting about the classified information that he had, and it wasn't new. But for him to just say, oh, it depends. Yeah, it kind of does. But did Trump violate the regulations regarding that classified information? Absolutely, he did. Absolutely.
So there's a lot, as you can imagine, but the TLDR, there are exceptions based on need to know stuff with classified information. The people who have the clearance to the access to the information are the ones who get to make the determination about need to know, especially if there's time urgent decisions to be made and things. So there are exceptions to the dissemination of the information, but where information is kept is pretty strictly laid out. In general, there's a whole division of the government called the General Services Administration, and they set down guidelines, specific blueprints, for lack of a better term, about where you can keep classified information. Long story short, it has to be in a safe or a vault that has access control, so that only people with the proper clearance have the ability to get to the information. this was outside of not only a GSA approved facility, GSA didn't have access to it either.
Right.
So like it violates every single rule there is.
Statements I can make that Donald Trump himself issued in 2016 about the importance of classified documentation. In fact, Jack Smith quotes all of them, including the
I read
executive
those.
order. Okay, then you
Let
know
me
how
ask you
embarrassing it
this.
is. Well,
Do
no,
you
so I'm
know-
curious. Donald Trump did all the prerequisites needed to break the law. He held the documents where they weren't supposed to be held. He knew they were classified. He said it to multiple people that he was showing them to. And then he told his employees to obstruct investigators when they're trying to find it. This is a crime, assuming it's all true. There should be the easiest, like, yeah, of course,
It would-
be, if that was true, it would be a crime.
It is a little bit of a difficult question when a president takes his own documents from his own administration, an email or a comment that he sent to Kim Jong-un. Is that unauthorized?
Why was there a special?
Arguably.
Why was there a special prosecutor for Biden then? Why was her appointed if a president can just do it? Shouldn't Biden have just said, "Oh no, I'm allowed to do that"?
The issue is not whether they did it, because if doing it by itself is
I personally, I would have held Dinesh a little bit more to the fight. Maybe Destiny's going somewhere with this that he's hyper focused
Maybe.
on, but I personally would have taken a step back and been like, no,
Hmm.
hold on, Dinesh. Can you agree with me that the sky is usually blue? Like, can
Yeah.
we agree on one basic fact, just as a rhetorical piece to like
Yeah.
really shine attention on the fact that he is hedging on obvious, clear facts.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, this whole whataboutism saying, oh, Biden had documents as well. You know, it really is that even if Biden did exactly the same thing and was the most, you know, just say he hid all the documents and just say he is the most evil person in the world that did all the evil things ever, it doesn't excuse somebody else. Like this is the tactic that they're using. They're saying, well, what about this? What about the other? What about that thing over there? It's an old Russian propaganda tool saying, well, what about America doing this? What about Germany doing that? What about this thing that was done here? It does not excuse what they are currently doing. It doesn't. So, you know, focus on, did Trump do this instead of what Biden did? Because, you know, it's just irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I learned that when I was a small child. You know, I'd take a cookie from the cookie jar, and my grandmother would be like, "You took a cookie? Oh, how dare you!" And I'd be like, "Oh, but my sister took a cookie first. Oh, that doesn't matter. I still knew I shouldn't have taken the cookie. What my sister did is another.
Right.
They'll deal with that separate. What I did was still not permitted."
Correct.
legal, Biden should be in prison right
No,
now.
no, it's doing it knowing that you're retaining it outside of a classified area.
Exactly.
But I'm curious, if you're saying it's not a crime, why was there a
and
special
I'm
prosecutor for
saying-
Biden?
Okay, and you cut me off earlier, but I was showing why Biden, I think, took a lot of those documents.
Why
In
was there a
fact,
special prosecutor for Biden if it wasn't a crime?
the special prosecutor was there to investigate the degree of the offense and whether or not charges should be brought.
But you just said it wasn't a crime. If it's a
I didn't
president,
say it wasn't a crime. I said that it depends on the situation. I said that
No,
in a
Destiny
case
is
like
right.
this,
Destiny is right. He was suggesting that a president taking documents like this is D'Souza's just like this is what D'Souza does. He'll make these statements, get caught by them, and then basically deny he ever said them in the first place. That's classic D'Souza. Like because he said, "Oh well, if he you know sends an email to Kim Jong-un." Is that sensitive information? A president should have access to the documents from his own administration. He was absolutely suggesting it was not a crime to take the documents. That was absolutely suggested there because he's the president. Then why did they investigate Biden if it wasn't a crime? Well, I wasn't saying that. You absolutely were, D'Souza. You absolutely were. Yeah, we all
Different
heard it,
facts
Dinesh.
for you and me,
Yeah.
different standards for you and me. I mean, law doesn't even apply on our side. It's fucking hell.
this is like a CEO who walks out of a company, takes a bunch of documents with him.
Right. It's exactly
Right.
like a CEO walking out of a company taking a bunch of
Yes.
classified R&D stuff with him. If he starts showing that to the other competitors, he will go to jail for corporate espionage, even though he
Yes.
was the CEO when the papers were
Yes.
issued.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. If you walk away with intellectual property from your former company and you knowingly conceal that information trying to keep it from the company, like when you leave a company, I don't know if Dinesh has ever had real employment with a company, and maybe, I don't know, but you basically hand in your work, like whatever you're working on, you don't take it with you. I mean, I don't know why leaving a company you'd want to take the work that you've been working on, but yeah, if you take their intellectual property and you take it for yourself and say, I own this now, that is a corporate espionage. You have taken intellectual property that is not yours. You don't own that. You're the CEO. The people that own a company are the shareholders. In this case, we can amalgamate that to the people of America because we're making a comparison. So yeah, the CEO is basically somebody that is put there by the board in order to run the company. They don't own the company. So they don't own the intellectual property of the company. They can't just take it with them when they leave. It doesn't work like that. Now, if they're like the CEO and a majority shareholder, you might have a case. But in the case of America, the president is not part of the people. He is not the owner of the country. And it's weird that they keep acting like he is. It really does show. They keep acting like the president owns the country. No.
Mm-hmm. We're just going to knock down a big part of this historical landmark to, build a pedo parlor or something.
Or whatever we want. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is not your house, sir. That is not your house. You are a temporary resident in that house. It's like it's like a renter going in there and knocking down a part of the building. You're renting, sir. That is not your house. How dare you?
I know. We should make future presidents put up a security deposit. You do damage, you don't get your security deposit back.
Yeah, I mean, this is how you get stupid laws, like like no president shall knock down a venerated monument because they want to build something. This is how you get stupid laws. Like I remember being sort of a student in a sort of a live-in college village, sort of a place that you go to college, and one of the rules was like no one should throw dishes out of the window, and you go, yep, somebody did that. Right? Like somebody obviously did that for that to be a formalized written rule in the list of rules, right? Someone has to have done that, right? There's no question. So, yeah, this is how you get those stupid rules.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. There's so many weird laws that are so hyper specific. That not only did someone do it, but it was a big enough problem. They felt there needed to be a law about it to prevent it from happening again.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder about those stories. Like, for instance, tangents, I know. In the city of Chicago, it is illegal to go fishing from I forget if it's the head or the neck of a giraffe. Like, you can't be atop a giraffe and go fishing.
Wow.
What the hell precipitated that being a law?
Well, I think the weirdest one I heard of from the States was like something like in Minnesota, it's illegal to cross state lines with a duck on your head or something. It was really specific.
Like, was the legislature just bored one day? What happened?
Oh, it's a popular myth. No, it's a myth, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Likely stemming from old laws about cotton duck fabric. But I do know in my own state, probably the weirdest one that I heard of was that it's still on the books that every Saturday or something, all of the men of a certain age shall assemble in the town square for archery practice or something, because it's one of those old laws that has just never been repealed kind of thing. But everyone just ignores it because it's stupid.
Archery practice.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it probably stemmed from colonial days when there weren't a lot of rifles around, kind of thing. That, you know, the young,
Yeah.
I think it's sort of young men, like 20, like 18 to 20 or something. Like, so, you know, bow's the best you're gonna do.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, even when rifles were available, they took so damn long to reload. Even if you
Yeah.
were like, there was in the American Revolution, there was a division of soldiers who called themselves Minutemen because they could reload 1 round per minute. They were very fast. They made it their name. So yeah, a bow is much faster. Positively semi-automatic by comparison.
His documents that he wrote. Now, hold on. There's a difference because we're talking about classified documents.
Whoa.
What?
Like
But
even
that's
CEOs
camera.
can have non-compete.
Somebody must have kicked it or something, because it's clearly on a tripod. But
Maybe.
like, there's at least 2 other camera angles. Why
Maybe-
didn't we cut to one of those during the shimmy?
Maybe D'Souza is bullshitting so hard that he's warping reality. That's what I choose to believe.
That's why he keeps doing that. He's casting a spell.
Yeah,
He's trying
yeah.
to glamour destiny.
Yes. These aren't the
Destiny keeps
documents
making
you're
it
looking
save.
for.
You're
I
doing
mean-
is showing me that Trump's conduct here was distinctive in any way.
Okay, can you give me a single example in all of U.S. history of any other president saying to somebody, here's a document, I should have declassified it, but I didn't. Don't look too closely.
Okay. Are you saying that if the president said that is by itself evidence that he is guilty?
No, but it's part of the indictment.
Okay, so what I'm saying is it's part of the indictment. I read it, you read it, big deal. The point is,
It is a big deal, though.
No.
Donald Trump's
Big deal. He's up on federal charges. It's, man, whatever. Who cares, right?
Whatever. Just federal charges. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh, wow. Okay, so I just tried to look up if other presidents have failed to declassify documents, and it turns out not only can you not telepathically declassify documents, there's actually a procedure. Like, presidents have the
Yeah.
constitutional authority to declassify executive branch documents, but there's still a process. The Presidential Records Act requires this is the thing with the signal chats. It requires the preservation of White House records and
Correct.
turning them over to the GSA. And oh my goodness. There's a lot. There's a lot.
And it was a
saying
big deal like 15 times when he was talking about other people retaining classified information. Remember how big of a deal you guys made about it when you talked about Hillary's emails for like 3 years?
yeah, and she was never charged.
Because
Why
she
was
wasn't guilty of retention willfully, of
Oh,
knowingly
and
doing
you
it.
know that
That's what
How
the
do you know that?
investigator said, because Comey said it.
because Comey said it. Right. Okay.
Maybe it's because the tripod got kicked, but now we've got a Dutch angle on Dinesh, and he seems kind of more sinister.
Hmm. He was seeming pretty sinister to start off with.
It's true.
So here's what
I'm
we're
sorry, do you have
getting at.
evidence to the
So
contrary? Wait, do you have evidence to the contrary of that?
Ultimately, we are now
no
we are,
evidence.
we're
Okay.
trapped in an appeal to authority.
It's
According
an
to
appeal
you,
authority.
Comey, Merrick Garland, Biden, unimpeachable sources. Whatever they say should be taken as
No, they
gospel.
are impeachable, but you should have
Judge-
evidence to impeach them. If you don't agree with what they say, then you should say, this is why I disagree.
Right. So
Not
what
with
I'm
a
saying
not
is-
with a crazy tale you spin, but like,
So,
here's some contrary evidence. For Mar-a-Lago,
Yeah,
we
and
see
can I
the
just
pictures.
point out quickly that Comey was a registered Republican. He was a Republican, right? Like, he wasn't a Democrat. He wasn't on Hillary's side. So what Dinesh D'Souza is doing is basically going, well, you know, all of these people have biases. They're all, you know, suspect. They're all doing things like, you know, in order to preserve Democrats and indict Trump, basically. There's been plenty of investigations that have found that Republicans shouldn't be prosecuted for what they're doing, you know, but Comey was a Republican. It's just that these career prosecutors, these career law enforcement officers, they place the law above their party affiliation, right? Their number one priority in their employment is adherence to the law and uphold the law without fear or favor to anybody. And Dinesh D'Souza, he can't really wrap his head around that, right? Like, he's basically going, oh no, the partisanship is way higher. And that is not the case with these career prosecutors, lawyers, these law enforcement officers. They will uphold the law first. And that's really important, because, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's your guy or the other guy or whoever. That's what we want there. People that will adhere to the law above any party loyalty. It doesn't matter if they're a Democrat and I vote Democrat. If they've broken the law, they should be accountable. That's what we want. You know, so he's going on about Biden. Look, if Biden broke the law, pin him to the wall. You know, they've come out with these Epstein files. Basically, the only client that you know, that wasn't covered up in these files is or allegedly covered up in these files is Clinton. And I think that Clinton should be prosecuted if he did something wrong. I don't have any, you know, outstanding, like, just because I like the Democrats more than I like the Republicans doesn't mean that you know, he gets a free fucking pass. No.
Mm-hmm.
And Hillary, just because she's a Democrat and I like the Democrats more, doesn't mean she should have a pass. If she did something illegal, she should be prosecuted. That's what we're talking about. But he's basically saying, oh, but they weren't prosecuted because there's bias and you know, they're working for. No, they weren't prosecuted because they didn't find the evidence on them. While with Trump, he's provided the evidence. He has. But they're trying to muddy the water. Like, every time we try to prosecute Trump, it's all just vindictiveness and because other people have gotten off scot-free. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. We're talking about whether he broke the law. This is whataboutism. It's deflection. It's just, you know, oh, but look at the Biden. Look at the Biden. Hunter Biden's laptops. Hunter Biden's laptop. Hillary's email server. Hillary email server. Like, trying to distract you from the fact that gratuitously, intentionally, and absolutely abhorrently, this president broke the law again and again and again. It's a distraction.
Mm-hmm. It's multiple distractions. And I mean, even Dinesh himself is a distraction, right? It just, it drives me crazy. He's the cowboy in the outfit with the red flag, waving it around to get the angry public to look at him instead of what's going on over there, you know?
Well, I don't think it's really working, because, I mean, this is supposed to be, you know, a debate over the Capitol, like, you know, obviously over Trump's presidency. And it just, like, Dinesh is looking absolutely terrible. Like, just terrible.
Mm-hmm. It's the administration of incompetence. It makes me wonder when Dinesh is going to get offered an official position. We need more convicts who have no capabilities and function.
Yeah. Well, Dan Bongino's gone back to podcasting, so maybe he'll take his place, you know.
Maya's lurking and traveling.
Maya.
Yeah. Yes, do be careful with the traveling, Maya.
Yeah. Take care.
Documents on the stage. We see the pictures of the documents in the bathroom. We see the pictures of the boxes spilled out with the classified markings.
Have you seen the Biden pictures?
I don't know if those were released or not. But the contention with the Biden pictures wasn't that there was classified material.
Have been widely released. You're supposed to be a factual researcher, but clearly
I'm a factual researcher.
Your eye only focuses rightward.
We saw the pictures because that was part of a federal indictment for a crime against Trump. Biden and Pence weren't accused of crimes because they made the phone call to the FBI. They made the phone call to NARA to say, hey, we think we have stuff here. You should come and grab it. Do you see the difference between behavior?
The difference between behavior now goes to a separate issue, which is how they reacted to NARA, okay?
Yes, one showed criminal intent and the other didn't.
And the context of this is really important because we now know there's extensive communications between NARA and the Biden DOJ about how to bring charges over this on Trump. That correspondence has been released. So we actually know that the NARA people, who are supposed to be these archives, neutral guys, librarians, no, they were very much part of a scheme for how do we go and get Trump.
I can
So
this
hold on.
I can shut this done in one question that you're not going to answer again. If that was the case, why didn't they just file charges on him day one? Why did NARA give him 8 months to return documents?
Yes.
Why did what?
That's a great point. They bent over backwards to give him more opportunities to comply than anyone else would have gotten.
Yes, absolutely. They did not like prosecute him for ages, and gave him every opportunity to like return that information. Like this, like he's trying to make it sound like, oh, he had documents, they just busted in and busted him. And this is where the conflation lies, and this is where muddying the water lies, because he's basically made like D'Souza's making it sound like they found out they were missing documents, busted into Trump's house and found them. That is not what happened. What they did is they called him, they asked him to return them. They had to follow up 8 months of this stuff. And I might add that what came up earlier was that his lawyers had told them he returned every single document, and they hadn't, because Trump lied to his lawyers and told his lawyers he'd returned them all when he knowingly moved them around, trying to hide them from the NARA people. Like this is not, it's so wild.
One if Byland is here and says, Trump is innocent. Put him in a fortified room to protect him from these accusations. Modern problems require modern solutions.
Yeah, I suggest a fortified room at The Hague, to be honest with you. You know, they've got some really nice rooms there. That's a beautiful, beautiful country.
Absolutely.
What is it, Belgium?
I want to get to Europe, like not in a flee the country kind of way, but like I've always wanted to go to Europe. They have so much cool stuff there.
It's lovely. It's lovely. I mean, I've been to a couple of places in Europe, and it's just lovely. Yeah, people are nice. As long as you respect their customs and their sort of morals and their culture. It's really nice. I mean, I went to Netherlands, and I walked in a bike lane and was chewed out by multiple people. It only took me for a while to understand why. And I totally understand, like, you've got to respect what they're doing. But as long as you do that, they're absolutely beautiful people, absolutely beautiful. So, yeah, Europeans are nice.
Why did NARA give him 8 months to return documents before the FBI finally got the charges basically ready for him to show up to take him, because he wasn't returning anything? Why did they give him 8 months to return it?
Right. And I think the reason is simple, and that is when you're dealing with a massive sheaf of documents, a process of negotiation. It's fairly familiar, by the way. Other people have done it.
You said this wasn't a process of negotiation. You said this was them talking to the FBI, which they had to, because they were like, well, there's a lot of stuff here that we're not getting. And the FBI, NARA doesn't have the authority to go to the president's house and retrieve stuff. That would be part of the FBI. That's why they had the communication. But if their goal, you said that they were talking the whole time, like they wanted to fabricate a case, why didn't they just do it on day one? Why did they wait so long?
Well, that's because the normal gap in the communication to bringing charges is about 8 months. That's not unusual at all. If NARA was talking to the Biden DOJ and going, listen,
wow, that is Trump, so much bullshit. That is not true. It depends on the case.
You know the average.
D'Souza's just talking out of his ass. You know, like he really is. It depends on the case, right? Because this, you know, Trump's only been in office for a year. He had like no, that's not true. Wow.
Just me. Well, that's a thing. Oh, it's so wild. Like when this person, every time he spouts a fact, he gets called out on it not being actually factual. So he should have zero credibility, but he's just such a fire hose of bullshit that Destiny just can't call him out on every single thing. When he says, oh, 8 months is typical, maybe it is, but if it is, it's coincidentally true. It's accidentally true. Dinesh is just spewing bullshit. But Destiny can't call him on every single thing, you know? Fuck.
Return the documents. Here's a great pretext. Go get them.
The pretext being that he committed a crime?
No,
That's not what pretextual means.
No, a pretext means that we are engaged in this dialogue with the Trump administration. This can now be recast as Trump refusing to return documents.
Because he did refuse. They stopped communicating. That's why when the FBI went to the Mar-a-Lago place, they found more documents. Some of those we still have never gotten back because Trump flew like 12 boxes of stuff up to his home in Bedminster or whatever.
Okay, look, I
We
think
can just say it's bad. If it's true, it's bad.
we can keep going on this, but I think what's, look, let me put it this way. I think you're a little pissed off that your cases didn't work, right? You were really hoping that you could get Trump, prevent him from running in 24, put the guy away. And
You're using motivated reasoning and you didn't get your way. Dinesh, Trump was convicted of 34 felonies. It's frustrating he wasn't convicted of more because there's a tremendous amount of corruption in the system, but he was convicted. He should have been ineligible to run. In fact, it's still arguable that, so if a person is convicted of a felony, they cannot serve as president and several other positions within the U.S. government unless Congress grants a special dispensation saying, oh, we can overlook the fact you're a felon and you can have the job. But they have to do it as an official act of Congress. They haven't. No one has pushed the issue because at the time of the inauguration, he had the votes. And they're like, well, it's as good as if they had. But that's not how the law works, right? Like when the Supreme Court ruled on Roe versus Wade, the Democrats didn't push to put bodily autonomy and access to abortion as healthcare in the law. They said it's a Supreme Court decision. It's as good as if we had voted on it. And look how that turned out.
Yeah.
So from a certain point of view, the entire Trump presidency so far is not technically legal, but there's a lot of other things that make it just
Well, I mean, the law sort of says that you can't work in certain positions, but it doesn't explicitly say the president kind of thing. So it's wild that you can't serve in certain positions if you are a felon, but the president is fine. You know, that is the wild part that I find. You know, if there's one position that you shouldn't be able to serve, and I think the argument is, well, if we do that, then one side or the other in a partisan way is just gonna do a Russia basically, where Navalny was convicted of all of these charges, even though he didn't do anything wrong, so he couldn't run, kind of thing. I don't know if you're familiar with Russian politics. Navalny was one of Putin's main challengers. Really sad, really sad, because he got hit on a plane. He was incapacitated with a Russian nerve toxin, that Soviet era neurotoxin, basically. We know that the KGB used to use it, and Putin is ex-KGB. Connect the dots, in my opinion, was not hard. And he was the main sort of thing. And he actually survived it and went back to Russia, where he was, with obviously dragged his obviously massive balls back to Russia, and he was summarily arrested and then died in jail, because this is Putin's Russia.
Yay.
Yeah.
And things. Oh, fucking hell. Goodness. All right. So I was thinking of the 14th Amendment, which actually doesn't say felon. It's the insurrection exemption, which 14th Amendment Section 3 disqualifies anyone from holding office who has engaged in insurrection or rebellion. And the Supreme Court has ruled that Congress, not individual states, must pass legislation to enforce the provision. So it's not that Congress had to specifically exempt Trump from liability. It's that if they wanted to do anything about it, they would have to pass an act to do something about it, which is whatever. Our system is so messed up. It's frustrating, but there's a lot of overlapping things.
You would hope that the people wouldn't elect somebody who's a convicted felon. You would hope that the sensibilities of the people would preclude that, but apparently not. Apparently that's not something we're doing.
I mean, you know, a big portion of his followers, they're hoping for civil war. They've been chomping at the bit for a new civil war since W was president. You know, it's been a whispers in the shadows around water coolers in red state employers. We're going to have a civil war soon. Be ready. Keep your powder dry. You know, they don't know what the hell a war is like. They think it'll be glorious and glamorous and they'll get to remake the United States in their image, sort of the same way the Confederates did. I don't know. It's a bad time for this country. Because even if the people who believe that sort of thing are the cowards that they seem to be, and even if they end up losing, it's going to destroy a lot of people's lives.
Yeah. Nobody really wins wars these days. It is just one person will come out better than the other. They haven't won because the amount of destruction and problems that it causes. I mean, look at Ukraine and Russia, right? Like, even if Russia takes the entirety of Ukraine and holds it forever, it has the amount of damage they have done to their economy, their young men. You know, it is going to be an absolute, like, they won't win. Even if they win and occupy Ukraine, they won't have won. They will, you know, it's just a case that these days we know that the consequences of a major war is just who gets to rule the ash pile. Whereas if you work with people, work with other nations and build your economies together, you do a lot better. That's how America actually got to where it was, having alliances and trading and, you know, having a very strong economic background with a whole bunch of alliances everywhere. That's how they got to where they were. And these war hawks are just trying to throw it away. Why? So we can have more land. Why?
We need the big glacier for some reason. Unreal. I don't know. Maybe a trade is called for. You know, Canada has been propositioning Minnesota, well, specifically Canadian citizens, but Canada's been propositioning Minnesota, hey, you don't have to put up with this. Come be our 11th province instead. And, like, I don't know, maybe the various nations could put together a trade. Like, maybe Trump could have Greenland if all the blue states can go be part of Canada, you know?
Well, here's the thing. He says he needs it for security, but there still exists in the NATO treaty a provision. Like, America could reopen bases. Like, since the Cold War, they closed all these bases in Greenland, right? They used to have bases in Greenland because of the threat of Russia. They closed all these bases in Greenland. So they could just reopen them and put troops over there. There's a provision about that in NATO. But number one, because of what Trump's done, Greenland won't trust him. So they probably won't agree to it anymore. But if he was well, we need to defend ourselves, you know, he could have done that with the provisions in NATO to defend each other. But it's not about that. It's about claiming land, claiming resources, claiming all of this stuff for him, for his America. And it's not his America. It's not. And he's got no right to it. And you know, I think that what Europe has done is basically show solidarity. It's every single European country of note has moved their special forces into Greenland. Greenland is suddenly awash with Green Berets and special forces from France and all of this stuff. And Donald Trump has the temerity to go on to his fake Twitter and post that they're moving special forces over to Greenland for nefarious purposes or sketchy purpose. It's like, what the hell? You are out of your mind. The insanity of this man that threatens a country, they move forces in to protect it, and then he says what they're doing is dodgy.
Yeah. He just lies about everything. I also want to note other Mark's correct quote,
That's a good,
relevant quote. It's from the old TV show MASH, and it's one of the things that resonated with me even when I was in the Navy. It goes, war is war, or war isn't hell. War is war, and hell is hell. And of the two, war is a lot worse. For a fictional show, they nailed some points. I mean, yes, it was a drama, but it was also a comedy. It's the point.
Kind of.
Yes,
occupied a lot of a nexus of a lot of different categories. It was kind of, but yeah, I mean, that show, like a lot of others, it had a tendency to go from hilarious to really somber and sad, like at the drop of a hat. Like it was wildly, it was a fantastic show. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Win the 2024 election. Unfortunately, he was big enough, strong enough, had enough resources, had really good lawyers. He beat you every single time, up and down.
So half his lawyers that he had initially are disbarred now. So I don't know if you can call them lawyers anymore.
You're basically trying to relitigate in front of this poor bunch of guys and go, you know what? If only I, Steve Barnell, had been litigating this, we'd really have gotten him. But damn it.
The irony is that Trump loses in court way more often than he would. Like there's cases like the Georgia case where they just dropped the prosecution now that he's president, right?
Yes.
He didn't win. He was losing, but he wasn't losing fast enough. His lawyers did succeed in delaying stuff long enough. Now that he's president, it seems like there's no point. That doesn't mean he's innocent or even not guilty, just that there's no point.
Yes.
We had incompetent counsel. It all blew up in our face.
Well, if anybody would know anything about relitigation, it would be the conservatives that constantly relitigate 2020 that still don't acknowledge. Do you acknowledge that, for instance, Trump lost the 2020 election?
No, he didn't lose.
Okay, so we're talking about relitigation.
Okay.
Right? I mean, like, you guys don't even accept the outcome.
Yeah.
Again, we can't even agree on facts. Like,
wow. But the thing is that even though we didn't get him indicted and prosecuted, but he did lose a case of prosecution. He just wasn't sentenced for it, and that's a problem because he was convicted of crime. But sort of his civil cases, he was just losing them left, right, and center. Right, left, right, and center.
It's funny that Dinesh talks about how Trump was winning so much, everyone was tired of it. When in the 2020 election, hundreds of cases, and he lost every single one.
Yep.
He got trounced everywhere. It was pretty embarrassing, honestly.
Come of the 2020 election.
Okay,
we're supposed to be a beacon on a hill of democracy.
Hold on. Well, okay, so we need to probably say a word about 2020 because apparently, just like in the opening books of the Republic where Socrates has to say, laughter, is that an argument? We're getting the sort of knowing ha 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 ha, which needs to be confronted because of its sort of sheer sneering dogmatism wedded to a bit of ignorance. So let me ask you this.
Dinesh would know about dogmatism wedded to ignorance, wouldn't he?
Right. But here's the thing, like, this has been litigated so many times and zero evidence has been presented. Some of those cases were dismissed because the people making the complaint, i.e. the Republicans, the MAGA people, did not present any evidence like nothing. People that basically claimed that the machines were set up and, they were sued into oblivion by the company that ran them, whose reputation in the sphere that they work in depends on them having integrity for those machines, right? Like if they don't have, like if you basically say, oh, when these machines can be hacked, they lose their business stake. So of course they sued people. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. Like every time D'Souza is talking about Trump being convicted, it's a big conspiracy. It shouldn't have happened. It's all of this stuff. Every time he's talking about the other side, simply having an accusation is enough for them to be condemned. The double standard of this man is insane. While Destiny at least is saying, hey, this is the reasons why they did this and not this. Wow.
Speaking of Greenland, this was sent to me a couple of minutes ago. It's
nice.
Oh, it's from I assume it's from Twitter. I don't know, but yeah, they've got their hat says "Make America Go Away," and it's got the Greenland flag on it. I'm just tickled. I'm easily amused. I know, but still.
No, it's great. It's fantastic. It's just what I hope is that they don't take pictures of people wearing the hats and saying, hey, look, Greenland's all for Trump kind of thing. That's what I'm hoping they don't do, because he's been trying to say that people of Greenland want them to come in and take it. And it's so bad. You know, like it is so horrendous, just lying through their teeth about the situation. Like they're basing it upon Greenland having a referendum, which didn't pass, by the way, about independence from Denmark, right? But independence from Denmark doesn't necessarily mean becoming part of the US, okay? That, you know, independence, you know, they're two separate things, but he's been trying to intimate that they don't want to be with Denmark anymore. And you can sure as shit believe they'd rather be with Denmark than Trump's America. Absolutely.
Yeah. They want to be part of Europe, and who can blame them? Because Europe is a much freer place than North America's turning into. Right. Holy shit.
And did you see my film 2000 Mules?
I watched the whole thing. Yes.
Okay, let me ask you this.
I'm sorry. You had to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but that's not
hazard.
But like, you know, I mean, if I was Destiny, I wouldn't worry about being rude to Dinesh D'Souza to say that a lot of the things in that film, almost all of it, is completely unfounded speculation. That's all it is. Like, you could not prove that in a court of law. You know, calling it a documentary is generous. It was just a propaganda film for the conservative MAGA movement. That's all it was.
Yeah. It's very much like that. What was it? Loose Change, the 9/11 conspiracy theory film. Like weirdly, Loose Change had more factual content in it than Dinesh's thing.
Yeah, so did what was the Michael Moore one? Was it Fahrenheit 9/11? Fahrenheit 9/11? Yeah.
Shit's crazy.
Yeah.
Dispute the accuracy of cell phone geo-tracking?
No.
If you were to be convinced that in the 2020 election, in the weeks leading up to it, and then again in the period leading up to the recall election in early Jan, that there were a number of individuals, mules, carrying ballots and going to 10 or more drop boxes, and this could be demonstrated by cell phone geo-tracking, would you agree that this is something that needs to be looked into?
Sure, and you did, and found nothing.
No.
Yeah.
I wondered why he was letting him go on like this.
Okay, so number one, it wasn't shown that they were mules, right? Like that, he's just inserting that into the narrative that they're these ballot carrying mules kind of thing. He has not a speck of evidence that is true. Number two, that they were probably ballot workers, like to collect ballots, like they were probably doing a job of some sort. you know, there is absolutely no evidence to suggest that they had collected any ballots, dropped off. So basically, Dinesh gets this information, right? That there were people whose geolocation showed that they went to multiple polling stations, and he makes a narrative around that, right? Like, who were these people? We're never told. What were they doing there? We're never told. We're never told any of this information. Were they working for the people running the election? We're never told, because Dinesh did not, like, he found nothing.
One wonders about the quality of his investigation. I recall one scene where they said, see, there's a woman in a white shirt, and we see in this other clip a woman in a white shirt. So clearly it's the same woman, because there's only one woman in the United States who wears a white shirt, you know?
Oh, only one. Yeah. Her name's Jessica, and she's a staunch Biden supporter. Everybody knows that.
Right. Everyone knows white shirt Jessica.
Oh, wow. Wow. Wow.
Well, okay, that's not accurate to say. You found two people that you accused of engaged in mulership. Both of those people, I think, sued you or the production company, and then that's why the film was no longer for distribution or whatever, because those two people were both engaged in fair. One guy, I think, was a father dropping off ballots for his family, and I think the other was a nurse who was dropping off ballots for the nursing home that he worked at. Both of those stories were verified to be true. I agree, 2,000 meals was an interesting hypothesis, but it was missing the part two where you actually follow through on the investigation and find the people engaged in muling for ballots. Simply saying that people drove by ballot boxes and not able to prove a crime.
Yeah, first of all, okay.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I am really impressed that Destiny did his research on this. Maybe he just was very familiar with it. You know, like I am really impressed. Like, he actually found out. I didn't know I knew that they were carrying, you know, there was nothing illegal about them. I didn't know exactly who they were. But yeah, it's a nursing home worker dropping off ballots for people in the nursing home. Completely legal, investigated, nothing there. And he's right. Like, all you did was see something anomalous and make a conspiracy out of it. That's all. That's it.
Yeah. And I'm sure he's very familiar, because as a debate bro streamer for, what is it, freaking 15 years now, something like that.
Yeah.
He was an active political debate bro when that happened. So he had to deeply look into it, you know?
Yep.
The nurse that you're talking about, I've never heard of. I don't even know what you're talking about. That's
so he made a documentary
that sued him. He has no idea.
No idea. Like, this is the thing. Like, you made a documentary, like, because of this fucked up documentary where you didn't do your research. It forced people to actually investigate, and the people were suing you because you had made this stuff up and conjectured and convinced everybody this was the truth. And you don't even know what the outcome of that investigation was. It isn't just bad that you didn't investigate thoroughly. You didn't even familiarize yourself when it was investigated what the outcome was. D'Souza, you're the worst. You're the worst investigative journalist. I mean, that would be an insult to investigative journalists. You are terrible. He is a propagandist, is what he is. This is terrible.
Oh my goodness. It's such a recurring thing too. Like, I just did a transfactual episode the other day about Piers Morgan in his weird ass Jubilee debate. There was one section where he specifically went after non-binary people, and like he mentioned a couple of different things that he considers himself a journalist. He says his career is through journalism, and he just, everything he referenced from a factual perspective was badly wrong. Like, even the Jubilee producers fact checked him on a couple of things. Like, he'd list off a bunch of things, and they'd throw up a fact check that says, actually, what Piers is saying right now is complete bullshit.
Yeah.
They're all, whether it's far right cocksuckers like Dinesh, bootlickers for YouTube purposes, or pretend centrists like Piers, like the whole spectrum of journalists. They just make shit up and have no idea what they're talking about ever. It's unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Made up. That's out of your ass, basically. There is
Dinesh would know all about that.
Well, it's just it's the irony, the irony of him trying to defend this after it's been investigated thoroughly and found to be absolute bullshit, and saying, oh, he's talking out of his ass. No, he's not. This was investigated. I'm just reading through the thing now. Like, he's absolutely right. One was a guy that they had video footage of him dropping 5 ballots in, and it was dropping off for him and his family. That had to be investigated because of your dumb ass. And it was just some dude dropping it in. And he claimed that is illegal. Dinesh still afterwards said, oh, it's illegal for you to take in ballots of your family members. No, it is not. Right? As long as those family members exist, he has a perfect right to take in, to do postal votes, take in the postal votes for the rest of his family. He's going to work. Why doesn't he just drop them off for him and his adult family members? There's nothing illegal about that. And, so Dinesh D'Souza, terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, it's, oh, fucking hell. Okay, so I'm looking at the chapter by chapter breakdown for this video, and it looks like this 2,000 mules argument goes on until the hour and a half mark, almost an hour 26, and then they switch to Hunter Biden, Burisma payments, and insider information claims. The insider information could be very interesting, but
look,
the
I'll
point
leave
is,
it in your
section,
very capable hands. Yeah.
Yeah. This section is kind of long.
Okay. Well,
like most
this
of the
is
other,
D'Souza.
for example, that section, the Hunter Biden through insider information, it lasts 4 minutes. It's from an hour 26 to an hour 30. And then the next section lasts 5 minutes. Like, this section is half an hour by itself. It's wild. So yeah, well, we'll try to at least finish this part today.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Is a case where we have in Georgia by one guy who claims, who by the way is seen in the film dropping off multiple ballots. The guy says that this was legit, and he was dropping off ballots for his family, which is allowed. This case is being litigated because the facts of it are rather complex.
It's not being litigated.
I won't go into it right here. Also,
yeah.
No, I bet you won't, because it's not being litigated. There's no charges brought against him. He hasn't done anything wrong, so he hasn't been charged with anything. It's not being litigated at all. It's a non-case.
It's one of those. So the people, the wrongdoers, they're going to pay. There's nothing there to litigate. What do you mean?
Partly because it's being disputed. But
when you say litigated, in a civil manner or a criminal manner?
But the guy,
well, can you expand on that? Is it in a civil manner or in a criminal manner?
No, it's a lawsuit. It's a civil lawsuit.
Okay, so when you say civil lawsuit, who's suing who for what?
So the alleged mule is suing me and suing the company, claiming that he individually, he's not saying the cell phone geo-tracking is invalid. He's not saying anything shown in the movie is false. He's simply saying what you showed me doing in the film is lawful. And in the film, we show a guy pulling up, jumping out, dropping these ballots, and he's claiming that individual act was lawful. So that's what's being litigated.
Okay, which is important.
Okay,
it's important. Right?
Hold it. Dinesh D'Souza says, he did this thing and it's being litigated, suggesting that he's got litigation against him, that it was dodgy and therefore he's... No, he's suing Dinesh for making defamatory claims about him, right? He's suing Dinesh's company, his production company, for doing defamatory claims that he was breaking the law against the guy dropping off the ballots because he did nothing wrong. How does Dinesh be this dishonest? Try to suggest, he says, the guy says it's legal, but it's being litigated right now. Yeah, he's litigating you for defaming him in your so-called documentary, saying that he illegally was dropping off ballots when he wasn't. Holy
Oh,
crap.
No wonder he didn't
Like-
want to talk about it.
This level of dishonesty is incredible. Because he, like, yeah, he didn't outright say, hey, the guy is being, you know, prosecuted, or he has litigation against him for doing that thing. But he inferred it from how he said it. Oh, he says that it's legal to drop off ballots, but the case is being litigated. The case of it being illegal for him to drop off ballots is not being litigated. The case of you defaming somebody who is innocent is being litigated. He's not under any pressure to prove that what he did was legal or illegal, because it is legal. It has been determined to be legal. Holy shit. Dinesh D'Souza, he is dodgy as fuck. Dodgy as fuck. Now he's got me
Yeah, it could be
swearing. Damn it.
legal activity, right?
It could be illegal or it could be legal. That's what's being this is being fought over. But what I'm getting at is
that is not
No.
what's being done.
Exactly. That's not what's being fought over. What's being fought over is whether you defamed him by saying it's illegal. He has no charges, nothing against him. And the way that he is characterizing this is so incredibly dishonest. Wow. Wow.
It's what he do. It's his thing.
no one is disputing the footage in the film. Some of it, you said, there was electronic surveillance. Do you realize that the people who said that this was the most secure election in history never looked at any surveillance in any state? Do you realize that many states which had surveillance turned off their videos before the election so they wouldn't have that surveillance?
That's really strange then. I feel like Sidney Powell and the Trump admin should have probably chose some of their claims on places that didn't have surveillance, because the ones that they did, they intentionally obfuscated the surveillance cameras in order to lie about what they were showing. Like, for instance, the ballot boxes underneath the table.
Look, why don't we just stay with what?
Ooh.
Yeah.
And this is why Destiny looks into things like this, so that when he gets into one of these debate pro things, he has specific facts to counter these broad bullshit claims. And it's, if you want to grow up to be a debate bro like Destiny, that's a good strategy, is to understand the specific things that are going to be brought up to your opponents will make broad claims about. You don't need to know every single thing about every single thing. You just need to have a few specific examples to show when they make a broad claim, they're full of shit. That's all you got to do.
But there's a
Okay,
reason,
we can say with your case. In your
the
case, it's
reason
been
I
4
made a film
years.
that
Nothing has been
focused-
resolved about this.
I
It's a
didn't-
case about defamation. It sounds like that's what
I'm
it
saying
is.
in the
It's
film
not a
I
criminal case
made,
at all.
in the film I made, we didn't talk about boxes under the desk, okay? We relied on two types of evidence, both of which, on the face of it, are valid. First, cell phone geo-tracking, and we showed that there were, in Georgia alone, in Fulton County, in that area, 242 mules, alleged mules, who went to 10
Alleged.
or more
he's
drop boxes.
like I feel like he is just getting himself into more and more trouble, because this is the thing about defamation. If you're calling them mules, you're accusing them of breaking the law, right? You're accusing them of election fraud. And then what happens is all of your fucking followers go out, share it round, and then viciously attack these people when they have done nothing wrong. So this is the Alex Jones effect, right? Like, saying that Sandy Hook was a conspiracy and that it was paid actors and stuff. These poor grieving parents got attacked for being paid actors. This is the problem. And, that's why they're litigating against you. So now he's going alleged mules. Yeah, walk that back, number one. But two, you shouldn't even be saying that. It's the only person that is alleging this is you. It's not like the media or journalists have come out and said, hey, they've alleged to have done X, Y, and Z. That is alleged by, reputable. No, you're saying that. Like, just you. I find it absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. And he's just letting him go off in his conspiracy nonsense. That may be why this is the longest section, is because Destiny just lets him go so the audience can see how fucking crazy this gets.
Yeah, he's a nutter. He's an absolute nutter.
In the period of the election, Those same people, by the way,
Wait,
did not go to those drop boxes any other time because this was compared against a geo-tracking of an earlier date.
To
Now,
be
hold on.
clear, real quick, to be clear, when you say went to those drop boxes, all you have are those people passed by those drop boxes.
No,
That's
no.
it. You don't know what they did there. You have no footage of them dropping anything off. You don't know who these people.
Wrong, and wrong again.
Wait, you have footage of those people dropping ballots off that. Also, notice for the one guy that's suing you or your company or whatever, notice that you're talking about footage of him dropping ballots off at a single box. That's not even the claim. 2,000 mules is not 2,000 homing missiles to one box. It's supposed to be people dropping them off at multiple boxes. I didn't see footage of any of that, of a single person. And that would have been the strongest thing. If you could show one person, one time, visiting multiple ballot boxes, I'd be like, oh, that's pretty crazy.
Yep.
I didn't see a single example of that. Do
Well,
you have a single example of that?
Yeah, I do.
Why didn't you show it?
It actually is shown in the movie. It is shown in the movie. What you really have is you see the same guy in two different outfits at the same box, but on two different occasions, dropping in multiple ballots.
Why would you
the same
use
guy, but
geotracking
two
data to see
different outfits?
Well, you know, it's a male, so it's clearly there's only one male, so it's the same guy. Yeah.
It's got to be the same guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
guy going through multiple ballot boxes and only look at his behavior on one ballot box when the central claim was the mule was going to multiple ballot boxes?
I'll tell you why. It's like this. It's like you have a serial killer who goes to 5 different homes, and you find 5 dead bodies in those homes. His cell phone places him at those homes at those exact times of those 5 murders. However, only one of those homes has surveillance. And in that one case, you can look at the cell phone data, you can see when he entered the home, you can then compare it.
Hold it. But there's no dead body here, right? Like, you're basically saying, you're not basing it upon, hey, we found fraud at these 5 separate locations, and this person's geolocation was at those 5 separate locations, right? Because we didn't find the dead body first. What you did is went and found geolocations for somebody near, and I must say that mobile geolocations aren't that accurate. They're pretty accurate, but not that accurate. It's not going to say, tell you whether they went to the polling station or just passed by it. Like, it won't really tell you that. The thing is that you found somebody that's gone to those locations, assuming there is now a dead body in each of those locations, and then said, well, there's the crime, even though you found the person going to those locations with no dead body. You're just saying there's a dead body now.
Get wrecked, Dinesh. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you have to show your claim, and I'm still curious where the hell he's getting all these people's own like geolocation data from. Like that shit isn't public record, so whatever.
Well, presumably, I mean, this is in Georgia, so which was a Republican sort of state. Presumably, they subpoenaed or freedom of information. Maybe I don't know. I don't know how it works, but presumably they got the information wanting to check on this kind of thing. Which, hey, I think that if you think election fraud has been committed, sure, yeah, but sort of geolocation is not enough. That is circumstantial at best. And when you pair it up with sort of your claims about a guy dropping off 5 ballots and sort of calling him a ballot mule when he was just dropping off ballots for his family, when you combine it with that, your evidence is incredibly flimsy. Incredibly flimsy.
Only the flimsiest. I mean, I don't even think it'd count as evidence, but
Against the surveillance video, but you only have one video. Now, in the 2020 election, even in the places that had surveillance, they had surveillance in approximately 1 out of 10 or fewer drop boxes. So the truth of it is, you could have a cell phone moving from Dropbox to Dropbox, but only one of those drop boxes has surveillance.
I would say the analogy
is all described. The analogy, this is all.
The analogy is telling because you're saying there's 5 murders, but you don't even have any proof of malfeasance happening at any of these ballot boxes. Also, when you say there's not surveillance on them, you keep saying that like that's exceptional. Surveillance wouldn't even really tell you anything, right? A guy could show up in a hooded mask with everything covered, and there's nothing illegal about that, and drop a ballot off, and you would know nothing about this person. How would surveillance even help in this case?
Well, it would help to establish that the cell phone, because the problem with the cell phone is my cell phone is moving from box to box to box. If I gave my cell phone to my wife, then she could be going from box to box, but it would be with my cell phone. The advantage of the surveillance, it can establish who is the guy who is showing up at the box. Now, look, here's the problem, okay? When you do cell phone geo-tracking, you get a cell phone ID. But the cell phone ID is not the phone number. And we have no ability, and neither do you, to take a cell phone ID and identify the person associated with that cell phone. The only people who can do that is law enforcement. And so we asked
well, it's the phone
Democratic
company.
officials in...
I mean, it's a phone
Mhm.
company. They get the information from the phone company. Yeah, so that is your oh god, I can't remember the term for it. Is it a SIM?
Well, yeah, your SIM is going to have one identifying number, but it's probably the phone's EIN would be what the system would pick up.
IMEI. Yeah, that's what I was trying to
Yeah.
think of. IMEI, the IMEI.
That too. This is more your domain than mine.
Yeah,
but it
that's
isn't even just law enforcement. Like law enforcement
Yeah.
might execute a warrant, but you need the warrant. It's not law enforcement doing it. It's, you know, a judge will say, hey, phone company, you need to turn over this data for a criminal investigation, you know?
Yeah.
It
So-
takes it's
so-
a warrant that does that.
So, because I love this sort of thing, the SIM card number is the number on, or the SIM. Basically that's the card that you put in the phone that allows you to make calls, and it's provided by the provider. The IMEI is the it's like a fingerprint for the hardware itself. So the actual phone kind of thing. Think about it like a engine registration number, like something stamped on the engine, rather than, say, you know, the person's driver's license. So even if you put the SIM card of, like, just say I take your SIM card and I put it in my phone, the SIM card would show the SIM would be yours, but the IMEI would still be my phone, right? Like, so that's the way they distinguish it. And the company selling phones will keep a record of who bought those things. It's like, and those prepaid kits, you don't give down your name, and that's why they're called burner phones, because you basically, you know, the IMEI number is just random and they don't know who it belongs to. But, you know, if you have a conspiracy, why they're not using burner phones is completely beyond me. Like, it'd be the worst conspiracy ever.
It really would. And on the note of burner phones, I should point out, and somebody remind me to mention this on Java and Jugs, because we forgot to mention on our protest tips on the other thing. If you're going to get a burner phone, don't use your credit card for it, because then your name will
Correct.
still be attached to the transaction with that specific phone's electronic identification information.
Yes, just use cash.
Use
Just
cash,
use
use a
cash.
gift card, whatever, but don't use something with
Mm.
your name on it, or there's
Well,
no point
even-
getting a burner.
Even a gift card is kind of traceable kind of thing, because if they're logging, you know, they scan it, and if they log that you know your credit card bought a gift card at this time, that there will be a digital record of who used that gift card, you know, or the card that was used to cover the transaction. So it's definitely safer, but it's still, I would just use cash. Just use cash if you're going to do that.
Mm.
Georgia, in Arizona, in Milwaukee, in Philadelphia, in Detroit, to look into this. Not surprisingly, the Democrats were like, nah, we're not really interested in doing this. We're like, just talk to the mules. Maybe there is a very plausible
Just
explanation.
talk to the mules.
Because if they're in on a nationwide conspiracy to mess with an election, they're totally going to tell you the truth if you just talk to them.
Yeah. Like, this is the thing. It's just so, like, he's basically labeled them as mules. And I really think that Dinesh is going to get himself into more trouble, because if this case is being litigated, this is evidence they can use that he is still spreading these malicious lies about the people involved. Dinesh is doing himself no favors here. Like, if his company's involved in litigation that he lied and defamed somebody, calling them ballot mules when they were a person just dropping off ballots for their family, you should shut up about it. Do not say a frigging word, because if you continue down this route, it is simply, this is the problem with Alex Jones. You know, like, he just continued to double down. Candace Owens is going to be the same. She continues to double down with this lawsuit involving the French prime minister's or president's wife, like the Macrons. She does herself no favors sitting there doubling down on it.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like it's intentional or something.
Guy just happens to take a really long walk around election time. He likes to stop at drop boxes. He smokes a cigarette at each drop box, and that explains why he's pausing at these drop boxes. So maybe there is an explanation. We'd like to know what it is. The movie can take you as far as the film can go, but to now demand, why didn't you do the investigation? We're not able to do that, and we said so in the film. So what I'm getting at is,
well, then what's the point of the film?
Yeah.
And also, what a nonsensical statement. The movie can take you as far as the film goes. The film ends when the film ends. Why are you talking, Dinesh? What do you...
But the problem is that the film doesn't say, hey, there are discrepancies we want to investigate. That's not the claim the film makes. The claim the film makes is that we have found evidence that this election was rigged, and here's how they did it. And all of the evidence you gave was bullshit. That's the problem. So sort of saying, hey, but then you should believe us on all our other, raving lunatic claims because we want to know. No. You have to actually, you can't just investigate people without probable cause or some kind of evidence. And I might add that the place that you actually got them to investigate, Georgia, was a Republican state. It was a Republican governor. And when they investigated, they found nothing. And they probably shouldn't have investigated based upon your bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not how that works. So every other state went, well, you made these claims, got them to investigate. They've got egg on their faces now because they found fucking nothing. Yeah, you've got to come up with some evidence before you actually start saying this. D'Souza, you can't just demand ordinary citizens have an investigation started on them because you don't like the results of the election. That's crap.
Yeah, that's why law enforcement, when they follow the law, doesn't do that kind of shit. You need probable cause before you can even get started with an investigation.
Yeah, if you're inferring ICE, I don't consider them law enforcement. I consider them law violation.
Yeah. What is it someone called them? The ignorance and cruelty enforcement.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
this is not a case where there's nothing here. There is a lot here.
There's literally, how could you even get that information?
Well, the answer is the cell phone date. You just take the cell phone data. You have a list of 2,000 or more cell phone IDs. You just get the actual phone numbers of everybody. You go visit.
No, I'm asking, how would you get the phone numbers? How would you translate this from ID to phone number to person?
That can be done very easily. That's done in every burglary and murder case in the country right now.
The burglaries have something called probable cause of a crime being committed. There's no world where law enforcement could start pulling phone numbers and data from phones off of a wild hunch where no other information is shown. Probable cause meaning that it's likely that a crime has been committed here. There's no world where a judge should be signing off on warrants or subpoenas pulling information like that.
Okay, so this is a good question. You're saying that if the prosecutor...
Hang on. The question is, how did you get that data? Because law enforcement, yes, they can contact the phone company and say, hey, we have a warrant for this data. And I have had to deal with police in my job asking for information about customers, right? Like, so just a short background, I was working in sort of a complaints sort of sphere for what's called provisioning or the setting up of internet services. And some guy had a complaint where he basically... had his phone line changed. I won't go into the specifics, it's very complex, but his phone line changed from one type to another type, which sort of completely disrupted his business. And he was like, why did this happen? And I'm like, well, a request was put in. And he's saying, I didn't do that. So it is a case of fraud. And I had to say, you need to come back with a warrant before I can give you any information, right? You need to have a warrant. Like, so you need to make, or at least a police report, right? You need to have a police report. The police need to ask us. I cannot just give out to the public this information because it is about people, right? You're talking about who did what, when, using what service, using what communications thing. I don't know this person. I don't know whether they're trying to gather dirt on somebody or, you know, get information about people. I cannot give that out as my capacity working at that company. That is private information. you know, the police came back and I had to work with the police. They were like, oh, how was this done? Now, I won't talk about the specifics, but I found some really wacky shit. Like, but I provided all of that to the police. That's what happens. How did he get the information? Because he's basically saying, hey, we checked these numbers, found that their geolocation for these numbers, right, where these phones were moving around, that is highly confidential information. Phone companies should not be giving that out ever. Because if you know what IMEI is associated with what SIM card number, right? You know who is using what phone and the geolocation of it. It is not hard to associate that SIM number with the phone number, and some guy you don't like that you have his phone number, you can now track him, track his entire movements, which school he goes to. Oh, well, now I know where his kids go to school. You know, he goes up to this red. Well, now I know where he eats out. You know, he goes and you know, to somewhere and it stays there for 12 hours. Well, I know where he lives now. How do you have that information?
Magic.
I think he probably had MAGA bros working in a phone company and stole that information. And that is illegal, highly illegal.
It very well could be. I don't want to pull a Dinesh and be like, well, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're just making shit up. Let's go hog wild. Yeah, I don't know, but he's not answering, which is incredibly suspicious.
Now that, incidentally, when someone is being very suspicious in a way that you can specifically articulate, that can be probable cause.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say in Fulton County, were to go to a judge and say, we have identified in Fulton County 242 individuals who in the period leading up to the 2020 election or the recall election have been identified as going directly to 10 or more drop boxes. By the way a cell phone moves is it doesn't move in a fluid pattern. It moves and stops and moves again and stops. You can actually tell when the phone paused. So we're talking about people who are stopping at the drop box. And if you go to a judge and say, we need a warrant to be...
Are they driving and there's red lights?
So
I would bet several nickels that whatever the fuck data they think they have, it's showing it moving down a street and then stopping at an intersection and then moving down a street and stopping at an intersection because there's stoplights.
Okay, so this is the AI overview. So do take this with a grain of salt. It might be making stuff up or hallucinating, but apparently it says True the Vote is a Texas non-based profit election integrity group that apparently purchased these over 10 trillion cell phone geolocation pings from unnamed third-party data brokers, which were then used to track movements between October 1st, 2020 and Election Day.
And I'm sure this semi-legal data is completely reliable.
In December 2024, D'Souza apologized to a Georgia man falsely accused of ballot fraud in the film, admitting that the surveillance videos were not actually correlated with the geolocation data and that the information provided to him by True the Vote was inaccurate.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's probably not going to mention that one, I would hazard a guess, right?
No. We can't do that. We can't. Oh, for fuck's sake. And this goes on for quite some time.
Yeah, and that is actually, like, I just double checked that because I did use the AI thing, which I usually don't. NPR did report that as well. Creator of 2000 Mules apologizes to man falsely accused of ballot fraud in the film. So he apologized to the man, but he's still involved in being sued by him. I'm not surprised. Oh, no, it was part of a settlement, apparently. So is it being litigated or is it being settled? Like, this is the problem. This is the bullshit asymmetry principle. You spend so long checking D'Souza because he just spews it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is it the same guy? Is it a different guy with somewhat similar circumstances? Because he did impugn a whole lot of different people in his film. Fucking hell.
Able to identify these people and merely verify from them that their behavior was lawful. According to you, that warrant would be impossible to obtain because there's no probable cause. Knowing something about the law myself, I would say that warrant would be extremely easy to obtain.
What
and
you
a judge
described isn't even in a
What do you know
only
about the law, Dinesh? Aside from being a fucking prisoner.
He has been prosecuted many times, or at least on one occasion. And this is like the criminal saying, "Well, I know a lot about the law. I've been in prison multiple times." Like this, Dinesh, you are not a lawyer. You are a believer felon.
Mm-hmm. Holy shit. All right, what are I know we've looked it up before, but it's been a while. Dinesh D'Souza, commentator, conspiracy theorist, author, and filmmaker. Let's see. Oh, okay. He went to Dartmouth College. Apparently he went to Patagonia Union High School. for whatever that helps. What did we go to Dartmouth for, Dinesh? BA in English Literature. That's his highest level degree, is a bachelor's in English Literature. Amazing. Okay.
legal activity.
The election fraud is illegal. The question
No,
is,
you don't have any evidence of election fraud. You have evidence of people
Oh,
walking near drop
all
boxes,
right.
which also are near post offices, which
Let
could be
me
people mailing
pose-
any number of things, right?
Let me pose a case to you. These 4 kids in Idaho are found dead. And this guy, Koberger, you see his cell phone in the vicinity of the houses.
No.
and he makes
But
a
the
big
kids
circle
haven't been
around the
found dead.
house.
That's
and
the point that Destiny's making. The kids haven't been found dead. The geolocation is the first piece of evidence that you're going off. Like, it's not like you've found evidence of fraud and then are looking at the geolocation to find these people. You're looking at these people first. This is the problem with his analogy, that you're basically looking at the geolocation going, oh, he's been to these places. If we go there, we'll find a dead body because he's obviously a murderer, right? That's what he is doing.
He just has that murder look about him, but we won't
Oh,
know
yes.
he isn't until we investigate.
That's the geo-tracking. He was there at the time or around the time that crime was committed. Are you saying that a single judge would go, we don't even have any evidence he did it?
No, I think you would have. I think that would be good for probable cause that a crime was committed because we have 4 dead bodies. It's likely a crime committed
That's
there.
right.
We have no evidence of voter fraud from any of these mailing boxes, so there is no probable cause to speak of. Again,
Right,
you don't even have
but
evidence of a crime.
Right, but when an
And to be clear, as a person who not a certified lawyer registered in the United States, but I have gone through law programs. I completed a pre-law curriculum. I have formal forensic training. I've worked with investigations, etc. Even if you had 4 dead bodies, that doesn't mean a crime took place. They could have died of natural causes. They could have died of a gas leak. There's a whole bunch of things other than this was definitely a murder. You don't jump to a crime as your first.
Well, yeah, let's be charitable and say that they are definitely murders. Like, people have been stabbed. They can obviously rule them murders instantly or something, like, to be charitable. But even then, it's just sort of, I don't know why you would go for, you might look at cell phone data if you already have a suspect, but you wouldn't go to the cell phone data first, right? What you would do is in investigation, you would talk to people, find out, get a list of suspects first, and then see because if you just look at cell phone data, it can be incredibly misleading, right? Like, somebody was in the area 4 times. it might, like, you will waste time going down this, this guy might be, and maybe he was just, it's coincidence, because they do happen. Like, what you want to do is try to find a suspect first. Like, look at fingerprints, look at fucking talk to people. Like a real law enforcement officer would investigate.
Yeah, you don't, generally speaking, you don't pull the cell phone tracking data until you have a suspect first. You're like, I need that guy's cell phone tracking data.
Yeah.
Investigation is underway. Judges are very willing to give law enforcement the tools to discover if a crime has been committed. I'll give you my own case, a very good example. So
no, that's called a fishing expedition, and judges tend to frown on that sort of thing.
Yep.
So in my own case, somebody tipped off the FBI that I made this contribution. The contribution could have been legal.
No, it couldn't have been, right?
Why? Why not?
Because it exceeded the federal election commission's.
There are actually legal ways to make a contribution. How do you think Soros gives millions of dollars? I just gave the wrong way.
Because Soros doesn't give millions of dollars to candidates or PACs. He gives them to things called super PACs, the hybrid 401 or 403 C5s, whatever, C4s, or whatever, like the different organizations there, but not to a candidate directly. You give money.
But 503c4 is a political activity organization. Not that it matters. I know nobody here's forming one, but
political action
to another person.
Yeah. And they're the worst things. And then super PACs are just sort of they're an amalgamation of all these different, like, usually political action committees will just have one issue that they're sort of running on. Like, they'll be, gun control or whatever the issue is. Super PACs like basically do a whole bunch of them, and that's how I understand it. Is that correct?
There's a couple different ways they can be organized. For example, the YouTube channel Angry Gay Grandpa has been trying to put together a 501c4 around the issue of protecting trans youth. And that includes a variety of related issues, but that's his main thing. As long as you can put it into, this is the subject in which we want to operate, then it leaves you open to go down specific tangents and embrace and endorse specific candidates and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but this was a tip-off by somebody who would have knowledge of this payment made, possibly the bank or possibly, somebody working in some place that saw this huge transaction, $20,000, which exceeded, to this person directly, which the reason why you can't do that is because that's impossible to distinguish than outright bribery, right? Like, if you're giving this money directly to a candidate and you're basically not telling anybody about it, it's essentially bribing the candidate, because they don't have to, show it. They don't have to assign it to any of their political actions. They can just keep it, and there's loopholes and things. But the point is that somebody made a tip-off who obviously had some knowledge that this was done, and they investigated and found that it was substantial. It's not the same as some random political guy making a film about what he thinks has happened. Like, Dinesh wasn't working in the election thing. If he was working in the election office and provided a tip-off that somebody has been carrying ballots around, yeah, they would have investigated. Absolutely.
The fact that he felt the need to make a movie, it doesn't show there's corruption in the system and an unwillingness to investigate reasonable claims. The fact that it exists is itself evidence that the claim is unreasonable because it wasn't investigated.
Yes.
Tell them to give money to a candidate because you know that you would be bypassing the contribution limit. You're never allowed to do that.
All I'm trying to say is that a tip causes the FBI to assign $100,000 to investigate my case. And this is normal. When law enforcement suspects that there's a crime that's been committed, they haven't proven it, they think it might be.
But there's a crime to speak of there. The exceeding of the campaign contribution limits. What you're talking about, dropping ballots off at a drop box,
Can
is
you
not
think
a
of a
crime.
good reason for somebody, let alone 242 people, to go to 10 or more drop boxes?
How many cell phones data did you go through?
Millions.
So of millions of cell phones, could 240
millions of cell phones, and he found 242 anomalous ones. Interesting.
Yes.
3 go by where 10 drop
Not
boxes
go by.
are?
Go from one Dropbox
Go from
to
one
another
Dropbox to
10
another.
or
Yeah,
more.
sure.
Look, we're not talking about
240. Do you understand the odds that you're talking about here of millions of cell phones where there are post offices or post drop boxes near these locations? These are all post office drop boxes, right?
Look,
Could I conceive of 240 people out of millions of cell phones dropping off stuff at drop boxes during an election season? Sure, I guess. That's a very low number of people that would have to get those millions of phones you pulled.
there is no reason for anyone to go to 2 Dropboxes.
No reason at all. You've never in your life gone to 2 drop boxes before.
We're not talking about showing up to City Hall and turning in your ballot. We are talking about these so-called mail-in Dropboxes. Look, even if I were taking the ballots of
You know what would be hilarious? If the 242 ended up being Dinesh's, like little mini Dinesh's, who couldn't afford to pay third-party data brokers to get the information to go through, so they themselves went to multiple ballot locations to record the ballot locations.
It would be
I could see
hilarious.
242 people doing that out of millions.
It would be hilarious if, like, the 242 people were just election station workers who were like transferred to another location, or had to collect certain things from the the balloting place kind of thing. Like, they're just election workers. Like, that would actually be hilarious.
The county department person whose job is to
Right.
literally empty the collection boxes.
Yeah.
We'd expect there to be more than 242 of those. How did you account for those, Dinesh? How did you account for the people who have legitimate reasons for these things?
He doesn't know who they are. That's the thing. Like, he's got no information on who they are, which is just wild. But it's really worrying that some kind of election bias company out there has got all this information. How the fuck did they get it? Who did they get it from? I haven't said. I think they should be investigated personally, and to my opinion, they should be investigated. How'd you get this information from these companies? Are phone companies selling geolocation information? If they are, I don't think they should be.
It's a little sus. Seems like the sort of thing that could be articulated as a specific crime, perhaps.
my family members, am I going to say, I'll put one ballot in one box and then drive to the next box and a third box? And remember that we're setting a high burden.
Could they just be mailing stuff?
What?
Could they just be dropping off stuff to mail?
You can send in your ballot by the mail.
No, it doesn't have to be a ballot. It could be anything, right?
The mail-in drop boxes are only for ballots. They're not for anything else. They're not intended for the post mail. You
No,
don't
but
put
they're
your utility
at
bill
the
in there.
post
These are
office.
drop boxes.
They're at the post office, or where are they located? Is there anything else around that person could have been going to do?
Let's see. Nope, not news. I want. Okay, so there's a lot of variation. In the 2020 election, there's some things that are definitely just ballot drop boxes, but as you can see, here's one from Salt Lake City where the regular mailboxes are right there.
Yeah.
Like, his cell phone data is going to show him. You can't tell if he's dropping off a ballot or mailing a letter, you know?
Correct.
Here's another one. I don't know where the hell this is from, but the ballot drop box, first of all, it's being picked up by the USPS, but also there's a freaking vending machine right next to it.
Right,
People
right.
could be going to the vending machine. Like, there's so much other stuff around. And Dinesh has no fucking idea.
Also, libraries as well. Yeah, so if somebody drops off their vote in the morning, and then, maybe they're a subcontractor, like a plumber or an electrician or something, and then go out to a variety of jobs, some of which are at commercial locations, there's probably going to be a drop box nearby. And you're going to go, aha, got him. And it's just an electrician going out to various, businesses and repairing their electrical wiring or, installing stuff. And you're like, aha.
Yeah. I mean, here's one from WHYY. I forget which city that corresponds to. It's somewhere near me, but it's not super important. But the Dropbox is right in front of the voting center. So like the voter volunteers will be going in and out of there and going to other locations, like you said earlier, Mark. Like when one location's busy and another isn't, the county's going to send volunteers to the location where they're needed, you know? Crazy sauce.
Set up for ballots. And what I'm saying is that it makes sense. All right, maybe by accident you went to 2 boxes, okay? You went to one and put in your ballot. You went to a second and had a smoke. Once you set the bar at 10 drop boxes, you defy credulity. There's no reason to do that. And that's why in itself, it is suspicious behavior. Now, are you saying that
unless, for just one random example, you are postal workers whose job is to collect the ballots from the drop boxes. Then you're supposed
out of millions and millions of voters, I could believe a couple of hundred out of all those millions of voters are going around collecting drop boxes, talking to election. You know, some might be managers or people overseeing things. You know, we don't know who these people are and we don't know what they were doing. All investigation. And don't forget, he started an investigation in Georgia that found literally nothing.
Yeah, and they look, I mean, like in this case, you know, we've got the postal worker, we've got another person who may be a postal worker, maybe an election observer, and then a third observer who may be an election observer, or maybe, I don't know, this looks like it might be a government building, but whatever it is, they may be a representative of management. Like, it's never just one person messing with this stuff.
Right, because we don't want one person to be in charge of such a sensitive thing. We want observers. We want it to be all out in the open. So, yeah, multiple people will go around with them. This is a nothing burger. This is Dinesh having nothing, making up conspiracy theory, and then saying, "Ah, gotcha."
In all the 242 cases, am I saying that all of them were equally guilty of the same type of fraud? I don't know. But I'm saying that there's very good reason to investigate further. And if let's
say that I grant all that. Let's say that I say there's very good information to investigate these people for crimes, despite having no evidence of crime being committed and no evidence of what these people were doing at the drop boxes. You don't think that there wasn't very good reason to investigate Donald Trump for committing crimes relating to the retention of classified material when he's showing classified material to people saying I could have declassified it, but I didn't?
I'm not saying that there's no good reason to investigate anything. I'm not saying that.
So then the investigations of Trump were done for a good reason.
Well, it could have been done. It could have. Generally, when there's an investigation, there is some plausible basis for it.
Sure.
But I think
like the willful retention of classified material. Yeah.
But I think you would be naive if you're saying, oh, you know what? Had this not been Trump, but let's say had it been Bill Clinton, they would have done exactly the same thing.
What about Hillary Clinton?
Well, I'm saying Bill Clinton because he was the president.
What about Hillary Clinton? She was running for president. We talked about her emails for years.
Talking about her emails is in the public domain is one thing.
The FBI investigated her email usage.
And what I'm getting at is, okay, the Hillary crime is, I haven't even brought that up. I'm not talking about that. If I were to prosecute a crime right now, and I don't know if it could be pushed ahead, but the Russia collusion hoax, which began with Hillary, was then cooked up in the Obama White House itself.
Hang on. People were convicted for that.
Oh my goodness.
It's still ongoing. Tim Pool took money from Russia. That happened. And he tries to say, I had no idea where this money came from, why they gave it to, no idea. Okay. But, you know, this whole thing, like, they did. People were freaking convicted of it. What was that name? That general guy. He did meet with Russian officials off the record and, you know, basically got convicted for it. I don't remember his name. Wow.
There's a few things, you know. Don Jr. and Eric met with representatives from Russia illegally because their father was running for president. There were supposed to be State Department liaisons there, but nope. Like, yeah, there all this shit was found to be substantiated.
General Flynn, yes, General
Flynn, by the Obama administration. deliberately stayed out of it.
Yeah.
It's fucking wild. Yeah, I don't know which general it was off the top of my head either. Megan Fox's giant boobs suggest General Flynn, maybe?
Yes, General Flynn.
It's just piles and piles. Oh my goodness.
Officials of the Obama administration was executed entirely intentionally.
You know, this whole thing falls apart with a simple question.
We made them go meet with Russians. We made them accept money from Russians. Mm-hmm.
As well, you're not going to
What's
answer.
your simple question?
Yeah.
What is it?
Why wouldn't they publicize the hoax before Trump won the election?
Why did
they wait to talk about this until after Trump won the election? Why wouldn't they do it before, like they did with Hillary's emails?
Well, this is
loading.
Mhm. Wow. That buffer
Hold on.
buffering is
Let me
is
make
wild,
up something.
Like, you know, Hillary probably lost the election because Comey made like 3 announcements. Comey's like a blog poster every day. We found a new laptop with more Hillary's emails. But Donald Trump was completely under wraps until after Trump won the election. What a horrible host.
well, the answer is really obvious. I'm only speechless because of the sort of it's so obvious the answer to that question. Hillary was 100% sure she was going to win the election. Hillary had it made. All the odds were in her favor. She was leading it tremendously in the polls.
Yeah,
in fact,
I don't know
Frank
about
Luntz,
that.
it just reflects the popular mood. Where on the day of the election,
I think the polls were wrong, but the way she alienated all of Bernie's supporters was pretty egregious. It was pretty bad. I got to say,
a lot.
I think Hillary is corrupt as hell, quite frankly. I'm sorry if that offends you. I don't give a shit. The amount of money she took from Wall Street is egregious. I think that a lot of people had a lot of problems with her. I don't, it sort of says that polling doesn't tell the whole story. I agree with that. I disliked her for a long time. But I would have preferred her over Trump.
It was predicted that she was going to win, because despite the fact the Clintons had sort of an evil reputation at the time, she was not well liked. The Democrats fucked up a lot of things, but the alternative was Trump. And so we had a woman candidate who she definitely had big drawbacks, but she had a fuck ton of experience in government versus a reality TV star buffoon who managed to lose money running casinos. Like, no one had any faith that this man was serious.
No, I completely agree. And between her and Trump, absolutely take her.
I mean, he was broadcasting what kind of president he'd be right from the get-go, saying shit like, I could shoot a person on Fifth Avenue and not lose a vote. Like, I can't believe a single American voted for him. That is a national disgrace in and of itself. But here we are.
I mean, I think he really did appeal to the people that were sick of the establishment. They were sick of the same, sort of crony capitalists getting in, the same, not working for the people. And, they took a chance that he would be different. And he really has. Sure, he's been different. That doesn't necessarily mean better. So I can kind of understand that when you're absolutely sick of the type of people that are getting into office kind of thing, why you would roll the dice on someone else. The second time round, no excuses there. Absolutely. You've already got a taste of what his White House was like. Second time round, yeah, that's on. Fool you once, shame on them. Fool you twice, shame on you at that point. So I get the first one. But the second time round, is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Tweets, Hillary Clinton will be the next president of the United States. She believed it. I would think Trump believed it. Everybody believed it. And
Trump didn't believe it.
No.
But when Trump won, these people couldn't believe it. And they were essentially in so now what mode. So here's what I'm getting at. Do I have to explain why they had the meeting in the White House in October as opposed to July? You seem to admit they had the meeting. You seem to admit that all the deep state guys were there. You seem to admit that.
First of all, deep state, holy shit. But also, you seem to admit as if Destiny was there and could testify to who showed up. What do you mean, Dinesh? This is ridiculous.
Hillary cooked up this false dossier, and this was used for at least 2 years, maybe more, to cripple the presidency of Trump. Is that a crime?
So, well, the problem is
okay.
the problem is it's not a crime to investigate things. It was a crime, for instance, when Donald Trump fired Comey to obstruct the investigation into all of the colluding Russian people around him, which was probably criminal in nature. But of course, Donald Trump will never be convicted of any crime now that the Supreme Court has said that the president apparently can't commit crimes. We do know that people were convicted around Trump for things related to colluding with Russian or Russian officials. Manafort was a great example of that. Roger Stone colluded with Guccifer when it came to leaking the hacks about the Hillary email address and all of the emails that she supposedly had on her server and everything else. But to talk about this collusion hoax with Obama and the bogus stuff that Tulsi Gabbard has released, all of this stuff had been investigated by our deep state operatives for like a year leading up to the election. Do you agree that Russia was intervening and interfering with all of the media cycles and everything in our country? Do you agree that Russia had companies, the Internet Research Agency was one of which Manafort turned down indictments about, that he was influencing the election in the United States? Do you agree with that, or do you disagree with that?
Well, that is not what the Russia collusion hoax was.
Well, but do you agree or disagree with that?
Well, I agree with it.
I mean,
Yeah.
So a while back, there was a couple of weeks ago, not terribly far back, there was a glitch on Twitter, and the actual locations of a whole bunch of users suddenly became publicly viewable. And a huge number of Republican propaganda bots turned out to be Russian Republican propaganda bots. They're still interfering.
Yeah,
They're
I mean, I've
still manufacturing propaganda in Trump's favor.
I mean, I left a comment on it was just some random senator from Minnesota kind of thing from Minneapolis. They left, I left a comment on one of their shorts kind of thing, and it came up like a response was sort of, it wasn't about the subject. It was sort of about, like, don't believe her about the Venezuelan boats. And it's like, this was about ICE. Like, it was nothing to do with Venezuela. It's like, this is a bot. It's a bot, right? Like, this is the thing. And we've all experienced that before. We've had the Russian bots go crazy in this sphere. I think it's almost time that we demand that maybe their location blocked, like that Russians can't be on thing anymore, because like the amount of them is getting insane, just insane. And if Russia doesn't stop the amount of government, or I don't know if it's government sponsored, but the fraudulent sort of sign-ups to their thing, then maybe they shouldn't be allowed to go on these platforms.
Yeah, we're very quickly approaching dead internet theory being a reality, where most people we interact with seem to be bots. Megan Fox pointing out that a decent number of the bots were also from Africa. There were some from Thailand, other parts of Southeast Asia. There's bots all over the damn place, but so many of them, the GOP cheerleaders specifically, were Russian bots.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get scammers and shills, and the quality level varies so much. Like there's a bunch of them on threads now too. Like you'll see people like staking their flag for anything that gets worked people up. Like for example, I look for trans creators in a lot of places. When I see somebody posting cool trans stuff, I'm like, aha, this is one of my people. And so I go to their profile and I'll see like the same 16 posts over a 3-day cycle over and over and over again. And I'm like, oh fuck, it's a bot. Like it's just to get people worked up. That's fucking hell.
And they've been doing it for a while now. I mean, I'm looking at one study that was done in 2017, like accounts tweeting regularly about politics in Russia. between 2014 and 2015, about 45%, 585,000 of them were bots. Right. So you can imagine in the time, there's probably so if you get on X and talk and, look at Russian politics or, global politics, it's likely that 1 million of those so-called people are bots, in my opinion. Like it is crazy how many there are.
And Elon doesn't care whether it's a human or
Of
a
course
bot
not.
paying him the $8 a month. That's, $8
Yeah,
million
correct.
a month.
Mhm.
In the blasé sense that I think that because the United States is the most important country in the world.
So it was the
Hold on,
largest
hold
disinformation campaign in
Hold on.
all of foreign interference
Hold on a
history.
second.
Was
We
what
cannot
put the
go
United
through an
States.
election without the following countries: China, India, Israel.
I just want to point out he's doing the thing again, where he's not
Yes.
engaging with destiny. He's preaching at the audience.
And doing whataboutism. I thought that's what you were talking about,
Oh, I mean,
because he's
yeah,
saying, yeah.
that's just kind of the thing he's been doing for a minute. I just wanted to, we hadn't mentioned in this episode, we noticed it during his Alex O'Connor debate, where when he gets really into his own sauce, he won't even look at his interlocutor. He stays focused on the audience, like, believe me, never mind what he's saying. We're ignoring him,
Qatar, Russia.
Sure. Can you give a single
others.
example of China, Israel, or Qatar intervening in our election atmosphere the same way that Russia did?
I would say that the Qatar influence is far greater and far more pernicious.
Give me an example.
Hold on, I'll give you an example. So in the case of Russia,
I mean, I don't know as I'd say far greater, but Qatar has a shockingly surprising level of influence, apparently suddenly. I mean, gifting a jet and suddenly they're getting a military base. The first time since 1814 another country has had a military base inside the contiguous United States. That's pretty influential, I dare say.
the attempt was an extremely clumsy.
It's such a break of the law to give stuff directly to the president without Congress approval. It is such a, we're not talking about a token gift. We're talking about something worth millions. It's so bad. Yeah. And does anyone really think that jet is going to go into like a history museum or something? Of course it's not.
No, he'll give it to his foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a thing he can do too, Like Air Force One is Air Force property. You can't just give it to a separate foundation.
Right. Remember when like Trump was going to release his tax information? Do you remember that?
I remember that being a rumor and no one believing it then.
Well,
he still hasn't, by the way.
I know.
10 years later, still hasn't.
Remember his excuse was that he was in that lawsuit, so he couldn't release his tax information. That lawsuit's now well over and no one talks about it. It's just, he was going to release it when that's over. And it's like, well, it's over for a long time. And just,
Mm-hmm. But he'd never shut up about Obama's birth certificate, even after Obama produced his birth certificate.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
The attempt to influence social media posts by bots and other.
So it wasn't clumsy. They were literally organizing protests in the United States, and they had a company here. Some of the largest GOP accounts, 10_GOP at over 200,000 followers, was ran by Russians.
Qatar. Let's look at what Qatar has done. I just read a report that Qatar.
Never mind the data you just cited. Let's talk about this other thing.
Qatar put $1 billion into Georgetown University, a single institution. Qatar buys political science departments. Qatar has invested heavily in the US media. If you want to influence an election, you don't think it's better to influence it through massive media outlets that reach tens of millions of people? Yes. So Qatar's influence, I mean, again, if you think that...
Right, but the difference is, does Qatar want greater favorability towards Qatar, or does Russia want to own the president?
Right.
These are not the same. They're both sus, but they're not the same.
Right. And sort of so the election interference, that's what we're talking about. He's trying to shift the topic to, does anybody influence the president? Wait, but if you can influence who is in the presidency, that's a different situation than somebody bribing the president, which is bad as well, but it's not the same thing, right? It's not the same thing.
Mhm. And one by land, also pointing out that AIPAC is the largest lobby in the United States. More senators, regardless of party, are in AIPAC's pocket than any other influence. And in fact, more than many of them put together.
If you can seriously contend that Russia was the leading influencer of the election, I think you're extremely naive.
Okay, so then let's say first of all, you have no evidence, but we'll say that I grant you that.
Well,
Okay,
I have the
let's say that I
evidence
just
of the
agree with you. So Qatar was influencing U.S. politics. Who is the guy who just got a $400 million jet from Qatar and just agreed to give them a security assurance, the same as we would to a NATO ally, and is allowing them to train fighter pilots in the United States?
So
It's Donald Trump, if you didn't know. What did Biden get from
Hold
Qatar?
on.
What did Biden get from Qatar?
Yeah, no, let's not talk about this anymore. I know I brought it up, but let's not talk about this anymore. Wow, you are terrible, D'Souza. Terrible.
It's amazing. Oh goodness. He's like, hold on. This wasn't supposed to go this way. Like, Dinesh has no idea who he's engaging with. He thinks he can just dump bullshit.
Yeah.
But Destiny is like letting him go wherever he wants, because wherever he goes, Destiny's got counter information. Like, just let him wander, because he's gonna look stupid no matter what he does.
Yeah. I wonder where it'll go from here. Probably like, oh, but Hunter Biden's laptop. I'm going to put my bet on Hunter Biden's laptop and, Ukraine paying Biden money. That's my bet.
You know it's coming soon.
Really?
You actually think you're making a good point by leapfrogging from the topic we were discussing, which is, you start out with a claim. Russia was unique in trying to influence the election. I make the argument.
No. He didn't say Russia was unique.
No.
He said Russia influenced the election.
Yes, and that Russia has influenced the election more than any other case in history. The largest influence of election via technological and social media influence in history. That's what he said. He didn't say nobody else has ever tried to do this or did it or anything of the sort. It's just, it was overwhelming, and that's what the investigation found. You're the one that brought up Qatar.
Yeah.
Point, who's not trying to get a favorable outcome for their country? We know Ukraine was. Why do you think Ukraine was so involved?
The difference is that I'm giving facts. When you say other countries advocate for themselves, you're allowed to do that. There is a process by which you declare with FARA, the Foreign Agent Registration Act, you declare that you are spending money in the United States to do this. Russia did not do that. They used subversive means. So, for instance, Tenet Media was a recent example that was uncovered. The FBI said there were some 100+ other organizations doing this. And if you read the Manafort indictments, you can see that there were agents operating companies in the United States that were wholly owned by Russia, pretending to be Americans, that were organizing protests, organizing rallies. That's the examples that I've given that are later in the indictment. Nothing for Qatar or anything else. Yeah.
Your case, such as it is against Russia. But you notice that the
point was about Russia. Yes.
Because you brought up the original topic you brought up that the Russia conspiracy was a hoax. That was the original thing. And he's pointed out how Russia was actively interfering with the elections. And I must say that General Flynn admitted to lying to the FBI. That was Trump the first time. His defense pick, right? His Department of Defense pick had to admit that he lied to the FBI about meeting Russian officials. That wasn't a hoax. That happened.
Yeah, there's so many specific instances, and many of them are public knowledge. We don't even know how much else hasn't been. Like, as Destiny mentioned, the FBI confirmed that there were a bunch of other things like Tenet Media, but those names aren't out there.
And I must say, when presented that Russia was interfering with the election, using these subversive means, using back channels with, officials that Trump had placed there, using all of this methodology that they're trying to influence the election, when presented with the evidence from the U.S. intelligence community, got all of the evidence together. Do you know what the president's response was?
I could speculate.
He said, I talked to Vladimir Putin and he said he's not doing it.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's why Dinesh thinks the thing to do is to contact all the alleged mules. Is you
Right.
just call the person and we'll just take their word for it. That's how
So
you get to the bottom of things. Yep.
Trump's response was not to investigate, not to place barriers on Russia interfering. It was to say, I have talked to Putin and I trust him. He says he didn't do it.
I talked
Which
to
is ridiculous.
Ted Kaczynski and he said he didn't do it. So case closed.
Yeah. Case closed.
Collusion hoax had nothing to do with Russia per se. It was about Trump. The heart of the case was not that Russia's trying to influence the election. There are all kinds of things you can do against that. You can deploy the CIA. You can charge them under FARA. You can arrest Russians. You can do sanctions. Notice that the Russia collusion hoax, which frankly, many people in this room probably were like, oh, this is exciting. We think we can sink the president this way. It was based on the idea that Trump went along with it.
But he did, didn't he? Didn't
No,
Trump
he
say
didn't.
on TV, if you release the 10,000 emails, Russia will be greatly rewarded?
No.
Wasn't Guccifer a Russian hacker that
Okay.
Roger Stone himself was
Hold
working
on.
with to time
So-
releases of Hillary's emails, the most damning stuff from the Podesta stuff?
Okay. What I'm getting at is...
Wasn't there a
Yes.
Trump Tower meeting where first Trump officials and surrogates lied about what the meeting was for, and then later they admitted that, yeah, there was a lawyer lady from Russia and we were seeing if they had information about Hillary Clinton?
Okay. So
So he's okay,
prior
yes,
to
yeah.
the...
Yes, all of that happened. This is the gaslighting that's going on. All of this came out. Trump was on TV saying, Russia, if you could find Hillary's emails and send it to me, I'd appreciate it. He said that on live TV, and you
I
guys are
remember that, yeah.
gaslighting. Yeah, going, oh no, he never encouraged Russia. He absolutely did. He did.
He specifically solicited them. Yeah.
Yeah. The problem is that he does so much dodgy stuff that it becomes hard to pick out one dodgy instance out of this entire cavalcade of just stuff that he does that is so dodgy. He says like, oh, I'm the hardest on Russia. He has done more to lift Russian sanctions than any of the previous presidents. Like he has lifted them and lifted them and lifted them. Like he had a meeting with Russia about the settlement for peace in Ukraine without Ukraine.
Yeah, we don't need the person who's involved or the entity that's involved to be involved. That would be silly. Who would do that?
Prior to the Mueller investigation, all of this recycled garbage was in all the media, and all of you guys were...
Oh, the propaganda. This is referring to the specific instances of verified corruption. He's just saying this recycled garbage. He's just dismissing, he's hand waving, he's shoving it all aside.
Yep.
cheering it and hoping it would amount to something. And then Mueller investigates it and he goes, guess what? There was no collusion.
So that's not what Mueller said. I see you
Okay,
didn't read the
no,
report.
so I'm
Collusion is
saying,
not a legal term.
do
What
you-
Mueller said was there
do
was
you-
probably criminal obstruction
do
that
you-
prevented him from being able to do the investigation.
All right, so
That's
you
what happened.
do you dispute Mueller's conclusion that there was no Russia collusion?
He wasn't there to
So
determine
it's interesting. It's
collusion.
really interesting because that was a Trump talking point. Trump's talking point for the Comey report was, oh, they found nothing that completely vindicated me. But that's not what it actually did. Right? Like that is not what the report said. But he's just parroting this propagandistic talking points that, you know, are gaslighting us all to what we actually found out. It's wild.
Yeah, just rebrand. Just keep lying about it until it becomes true. We learned this trick from the middle of the 20th century German Empire.
Mhm.
as far as a crime. There's no crime of collusion. Mueller said that he couldn't gather enough evidence to prove that, but he said that there was heavy obstruction that probably would meet the level for criminal obstruction along the way. For instance, why did Trump fire Comey?
Okay, hold on.
Will you
So
answer
here's
that question?
something very
You won't, because there's only one
here's
answer.
something very
It was to obstruct the investigation.
Okay,
That's why you fired Comey.
You said a little bit earlier ago, why would you even need a special counsel to look into something if a crime had not already been committed? You said that. Then you said just now.
No, he didn't.
It's not
He didn't.
quite what he said.
No, he said that you need probable cause in order to start an investigation. That's what he says. I remember him clearly saying probable cause. Thing was that they did have probable cause because Flynn lied and got busted for it. I mean, Trump stood on a stage and asked Russia to help him find Hillary's emails just before an election. That is suspicious. Like, he wants to say, hey, because they started up an investigation on Trump, but they didn't start one on election, fraud here, it's the same. And it's not. One has probable cause, one does not. This is what we're talking about. It's like saying, well, why did you investigate me and not Ember when I've basically been cheating on my taxes and somebody tipped somebody off and Ember is not? It's ridiculous, right? Like, wow.
Also, don't cheat on your taxes. You don't want to end up like Dinesh. And
yeah.
Well, I mean, there are worse fates than to end up like Dinesh, like being an extremely rich lolcow that keeps getting invited to events for nationwide recognition, and there are worse fates, but don't end up like Dinesh.
Yeah, no. Like, he is so under the thumb of Trump. Like, he's never going to, like, Trump is not the type of person that if you do him a favor, he will call it quits and even. He will hold this over his head for the rest of his life.
Which mercifully may be sure. Oh my goodness. It could have been over in 2020. He could have fallen victim to his own bullshit. But no, the doctors at Walter Reed had to go, do their jobs and shit. Alas.
Well, doctors should not show any favor to anybody for any reason. They should just look after the well-being of their patient, and that's all. That's important for doctors. So I understand.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I worry that, like, if a similar thing had happened with Biden, that Trump wouldn't be prosecuting the same doctors that saved his life, or also saving the life of the president he didn't like.
Right, right. Yeah.
Mueller said, I don't have enough evidence that the crime was even committed. And yet he had been investigating this for a long duration of time. And he concluded there's nothing there. But evidently there was enough.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. This is a lie. He was removed by Trump, right? After stating in his report, the report that he gave when he was removed was, I have been obstructed by the Trump administration from investigating this, and there is enough to charge him with obstruction if he wasn't the president.
Yeah. And they really didn't like that. They're like, oh, you're alleging I've done crimes? Well, you're fired. It's exactly the same type of internal corruption, the I own everything mentality that we're getting from the administration now, saying, oh, well, effectively, I'm suing myself, so I'm going to opt to have my government settle with me and pay me hundreds of millions in settlement for, all the...
Yeah, and I just want to point out, I've just found it now, the investigation produced 37 indictments, 7 guilty pleas or convictions, compelling evidence that the president obstructed justice on multiple occasions. Mueller also uncovered and referred 14 criminal matters to other components of the Department of Justice. So that investigation produced a large amount of indictments and a significant amount of convictions.
So clearly we got to fire the guy for finding nothing.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. It's fucking unreal. Now, a reminder that Nixon resigned for much lower
Yes.
incriminating evidence much earlier on, like it was the wiretapping thing, but also the obstruction and trying to get to the bottom of the wiretapping thing. And to look at Trump and know that Nixon had more honor, like I realize our bar for Trump is so low at this point.
Yeah.
But considering a US president who has exceeded Nixon in just sheer malfeasance is remarkable.
Yeah, can I just highlight something Robin just said? This isn't my country, right? Like I am not an American citizen. I in no way really follow American news at all, but I know much more about this than most Americans, right? Like this is crazy. I don't even follow this. I just see the results of what comes out. And it's crazy that I know more about this than D'Souza does. Or he probably does. I don't know. But, I am giving you more accurate information than Dinesh D'Souza, a man who apparently considers himself a journalist and works as an American citizen. It's crazy. Crazy.
Like we've discussed in previous episodes, there's one group of people who believes that you're supposed to play by the rules, and if you don't, you suffer penalties. And there's another side that sees the penalties and says, well, if you don't incur some penalties, you're not trying hard enough. you
Right.
know?
What do you think obstruction is? Obstruction is when you make it hard for a person to investigate. That's what the crime of obstruction is. Why do you think Donald Trump fired Comey?
Why did Donald Trump fire Comey? Because, I mean, he's the president. He has every right to fire a...
Why? Why did he fire Comey? Not he. Does he have the right to fire? Wow, Dinesh, you are... I just... The only saving grace of this debate is seeing Dinesh absolutely drown right now. Like, because he is drowning.
Did you hear the audience audibly laughed at him? They laughed loud enough that the microphones picked it up.
Yep.
When we talk about Democrats, we talk about what's moral and what's right. When we talk about Trump, we talk about what is in the outer perimeter of what is he legally allowed to do. He fired Comey because Comey wouldn't stop the investigation into him.
Comey is an utter sleazeball.
What does that have to do with what we're talking about?
Hold on. Comey was in on the Russia collusion hoax.
Then why did he make public announcements about Hillary's email campaign that probably sunk her entire campaign?
Why do you keep changing the topic?
I'm not. I'm just pointing out how ridiculous all of your statements are. None of them make sense.
We're talking about Comey. Comey is a guy. This is a guy.
Why did Trump fire him?
Trump fired him because Trump realized that he was actually part of the hoax.
Do you even know why Trump? Do you know why Trump stated he publicly fired him?
The hoax that got all those indictments and convictions. It's clearly a hoax.
Yeah. Like all of those indictments, all of those convictions, all of the evidence he pulled up, all of the referrals to other departments because it wasn't directly tied with it. Yeah, that's the scumgag guy who's just, what a scumbag. He's upholding the law. What a scumbag, right? Like party of law and order, my ass. He is also a registered Republican who has always voted Republican, right? And this is what I was saying earlier. He was a man that put the law above his political affiliation, and that was distasteful to Trump because he wanted him to be loyal. Comey said and took notes about a meeting he had with Trump where Trump asked for his loyalty to a special prosecutor.
That's his whole thing.
Yep.
Like, I'm investigating you, dude. I can't do that. No.
Yes.
Miranda says, the thing is, I did know all of this, but I'd forgotten so much of it. The pile of bullshit just keeps getting deeper till we lose track of it all. And of course, that is the strategy. That's why they do the flood the zone or the fire hose of bullshit or whatever you want to call it. That's the point is, there's like beyond conceptual capability levels of bullshit. But because you already know that, it doesn't hurt them to keep spewing more of it, What that does
Yeah.
do is bury the other stuff, so you lose track of all of it. It's fucking unreal. All right, we're a few minutes away from where the index says Hunter Biden stuff happens at about a minute 26, an hour 26. Jesus Christ, Ember. We're all very tired here, folks. We're doing our best. But once they finally bring that up, we'll probably make that our break for this time, because we're at
Okay.
3 hours right now.
Okay.
It'll still be a
I'm
couple
fine with
minutes till we
whatever.
get there.
Yeah,
What's
I'm
that?
fine. Whenever you wanna call it, I'm totally fine with Ems. You just, I totally understand. I'm fine with anything.
Okie dokie. Yeah, because that seems like a good
Okay.
good place to divide, because
Sure,
that's
sure.
marked as the
Yeah.
next topic change. So yeah, once we hear Hunter Biden, that'll be where we'll do the thing. Probably.
He said it was because of the Hillary email stuff. Trump fired him because after Flynn was indicted, Trump said, well, now you guys should be done.
There's
you know,
another
you should be
bogus
done.
indictment.
It was a
Flynn.
good indictment. It was good. You should have
Comey
lied. Don't lie to
actually-
the FBI about talking to Russian about Russian
Comey
ambassadors.
actually went on TV and boasted that they entrapped Flynn. Comey basically said, we needed to get
No,
Flynn,
it didn't.
but we normally couldn't
It
get
was
him.
a wiretap.
Because
It was a wiretap. They tapped their phone and found out they did have a meeting with a Russian lawyer, and they talked about certain things. Like, it wasn't entrapment. They didn't entrap him. How did they entrap him? Like, his campaign manager, I think was it Manafort? It was somebody, and Don Jr. had a meeting with a Russian lawyer, and they discussed certain things, and Flynn was there, and he lied to the FBI about it. Like, that's not entrapment, my guy. That's asking somebody a question about a meeting that you already have information about, and him lying through his teeth about it. That's not entrapment. Entrapment is when you set it up so they would not have done that crime unless you put that person in front of them. It would be like a police officer going to somebody and going, hey, I've got this really good burglary and you'll never get caught. Come and do the burglary. And the person going, yeah, and him going, no, it'll be really good. Come with me. That's entrapment. That's entrapment. It's not you doing the crime and them finding out about it, asking you questions, and you lie about. That's not entrapment, guy. What the hell?
I was entrapped into committing additional crimes based on the crimes already done.
What the hell?
Yeah.
The White House, you have to go through the White House counsel. But we knew that things were a little chaotic in the Trump White House in the first term. So what we did is we sent a couple of guys acting like they were not up to anything. They just want to ask him a few questions to clear a few things up. And of course, Flynn thinks these guys are on his side. They're just trying to sort something out. He cooperates, and boom, they go after him.
Wait a second. So a couple of police officers acted like they were on your side, and then you lied to them and they charge you with a crime. This
No,
sounds
no,
like
no,
every
hold
JCS
on,
video
hold
on YouTube ever. Welcome to the real
Wait a minute,
world.
wait a minute.
This guy is
Okay.
a general. How does he not know how the freaking police work? Seriously?
Look.
Just for the audience, I have to say this responsibly. If you lie to the FBI or if you lie to police officers about things, you could be charged with crimes. It doesn't matter if they're trying to be your friend. They're trying to get you to admit to a lie. That's the whole purpose of law enforcement.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
Well, it's
Wow.
not the
And
whole
nobody
purpose
forced
of
him
law
to
enforcement.
nobody forced him to lie. They simply asked him questions and he lied and they knew the answers already. That's not entrapment.
Mhm. In
That's
fact,
why you
there's-
don't that's why you don't
there's
lie
a
to the
trick.
FBI.
There's a dirty trick they teach you in law school. Ask questions you already know the answers to.
Yes.
Give them the rope and let them hang themselves.
Mhm.
You're not making them
he-
do it.
He could have pled the fifth.
Sure.
You can plead the fifth. You can
It's just-
always do that. You always have the right to not say anything.
And that's one of the weird hallmarks of this entire Trump phenomenon is,
Mhm.
and I don't know, maybe they think there's like a political strategy to it, because it's that incompetence. It's that just bald-faced lying when they could plead the fifth. Do they think it makes them look innocent to not plead the fifth? It's so weird. Like, who's giving them legal advice? Because it's awful. Don't do that. Do not lie to investigators.
I hate to bring you into the 21st century on this. Hold on. It is actually part of the playbook of the FBI. If they cannot get you on something, they interview you for 10 hours. They then will find something you said in hour 7 that contradicts something that you said in hour 3. And they will say that both things can't be true, and therefore you must have lied. I know personally a case of a guy in Los Angeles, movie director, in fact, the guy who made the film Die Hard.
Anecdotes, but also
anecdotes.
no, that's not how that works. You can use contradictions in an interview as a persuasive technique to get to the information you actually want. But unless your case is specifically about the thing that was lied about, you're not going to get very far with a contradiction in hour 3 versus hour 7 or whatever. Like that's not a case.
Might I remind you that Flynn pled guilty? He pled guilty. He didn't say, no, I didn't do it, and the FBI tricked me into it with this contradictions. No, he outright lied about who he was meeting. He had gotten money from several government departments without disclosing it at all. Like he got money from Russia, Turkey, and I think there was one other one as well. He was breaking the law. And so that they said, did you discuss any policy while you were meeting with this Russian lawyer and the people? And he said, no, I did not. And they knew that was a lie because they had intercepted like message transmissions. That's not like, and then he pled guilty because they had overwhelming evidence that he had broken the law. That is not the same thing
at that point.
Right. That's not the same thing as you saying, oh, well, I can't remember, but I think I did this on Saturday. And then later saying, well, I think I played racquetball. And it's a contradiction. You're immediately put into jail. No, that is not the same thing. No. That's like when Trump refused to go on the stand. He wouldn't stand in his own defense for one of his trials or his prosecution, actually, for these fraud things, because he was like, oh, you'll say it rained on Monday and it didn't rain, and then they get you. And it's like, no, they don't. That is not a thing. Like, seriously. He won't do it because he lies through his teeth, and he'd be done for contempt of court. Perjury.
Yeah, it'd be Alex Jones all over again. In fact, oh my goodness, the whole thing with it. I don't know if y'all caught any of the Alex Jones trials and whatnot, but
it was
one specific instance is the attorney for the families asks Alex Jones about a certain thing, and he just straight up lies about it. And then the attorney goes, funny you should mention that specific thing, whatever the fuck it was. I forget the exact detail because it's the maneuver that was so epic. Like I just said, you ask questions you already know the answer to.
Yep.
But the way he knew the answer was because Jones's defense team had sent the attorney for the families Alex's entire text history, all the text messages. They didn't need to. They weren't supposed to, but they did it anyway.
Yeah, so it was because they as part of discovery, they needed all of Alex Jones' text information, especially the stuff regarding, the Sandy Hook, the details of what he had discussed privately with Sandy Hook, because they were trying to make a case that he knew it wasn't a hoax, right?
False
and that
flag.
he was sorry.
False flag is what.
Yeah, he knew that, and yet he was doing it to make money. He was promoting that to make money. So he, as part of discovery, he's supposed to supply all of that, and he didn't. He retained some of it, but his lawyers accidentally sent his entire history, meaning that the prosecution was aware that he had withheld information, or rather the complainants, the plaintiffs, the side of the families knew that he had held information against discovery, which is sanctionable easily, because you're not meeting discovery. And two, like, he lied about it in court because they asked him the question. So it was just ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was just, it was so fun. It wasn't even like masterful on the part of the attorney. It was just holding up not only Jones's perjury on the stand just then, but the
Yeah.
sheer incompetence of his legal defense team.
Well, not only that, but it shows that he was obstructing the legal process. And I believe that they found in favor of the plaintiffs with prejudice, meaning like it didn't even get tried, really. It wasn't even put to a decision. They just basically folded all for the plaintiffs because basically Alex Jones did so much to obstruct the law and obstruct, them finding out what the truth was, that he essentially just lost the case outright automatically because he just did so much wrong. What an absolute idiot. But what the funniest part wasn't even that, Amber. The funniest part was his reaction being confronted with that was, see, I gave you all of the emails and all of the messages.
It's just fucking wild.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like his lawyers accidentally send all of the messages he's supposed to and was deliberately withholding. They accidentally send it out. And he says, see, I gave it to you then. I'm being a good guy.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I'll just take credit for that. So
the wild thing was that the plaintiff's lawyers basically said, hey, you've sent this to us probably in error. We don't think we should have this because it's not addressed to us. You have this amount of time to reclaim it. And things sent in error under the legal process in that state, you have to give them time. And they didn't do anything about it. They left it with them, which meant they could use it as evidence past a certain amount of time because they did not reclaim
like
it
30
in
days
error.
or something.
Like, this was the incredible incompetence of those people.
Yeah. And it happened like at least twice. Like the one that I'm referring to is the Connecticut verdict, where he ended up with a $1.4 billion penalty. That was $965 million in damages to the 15 plaintiff families, and the judge added another $473 million in punitive damages. An appeals court reduced that by $150 million, which is a lot of money, but compared to the total is a drop in the bucket. And the Supreme Court refused to hear his appeal. It's not a Supreme Court matter. It's not a constitutional question. So I don't know what he expected there. But there was a second one in Texas. One family there, he got ordered to pay $49 million, 4.1 in compensatory damages and $45.2 million in punitive damages to the parents of another child. And he applied for state caps to reduce the penalty. The judge said, nope, not this time, buddy. So, of course, he filed bankruptcy. And he did. He deleted his entire company, Free Speech Systems. They declared bankruptcy, they liquidated, etc. And during the procedure, the bankruptcy judge ruled that the defamation penalties cannot be discharged under bankruptcy because they're the result of willful and malicious injury.
Mm-hmm.
He's completely stuck with it because he went out of his way to do something evil.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fucking crying shame that that's the state of things in the United States, but it's hilarious that at least one incompetent asshole is getting what he deserves. Sort of.
Well, I mean, at last I heard is that The Onion was buying InfoWars to run it as a satirical site, which was one of the best things I'd heard all year. I was like, that is awesome.
I did
hear
that
was a tangent. Tangents in the chat.
Yeah,
I think there was a problem with the auction. They won the auction and there was a problem with it, so they had to redo it. I don't know where it is now, but yeah.
It's still it's so great. It's so great. It's a little bit of Schadenfreude in these dark days.
Yeah.
Where they went after him on this. He was friends with a guy. He had gone to school with a guy who apparently was in the mafia. And they were trying to get this guy, John McTiernan by name, the director, by the way, of Die Hard 1 and 2. They told him, we want you to give up your friend. McTiernan basically said, I'm not doing it. Leave me alone. So what they did was they contacted him under dubious pretext we don't need to go into. We need to ask you some questions about something else. And then they interview him for hours and hours and hours. And they find two statements, by the way, not even directly about the case, that, quote, contradicted each other. And they're like, you lied to the government. You lied to the FBI. That's a crime in itself. This poor guy spent, I believe, 2 years in prison for lying to the government. Now,
I have a feeling if you look at the facts of the case, it's not going to be even remotely close to what you've represented them to be. But also, secondly,
that is the case.
Secondly, just don't talk to them then. Why was he even talking to them for 10 hours?
No,
Is he bored?
all I'm saying,
Did he need some friends?
All I'm saying, no, you think you're cooperating.
You don't have to. You can just say, I don't feel like talking to you for 10 hours. I'm fine cooperating with law enforcement. I wouldn't talk to the FBI for 10 hours.
I wouldn't either, but that's only partly because I've become savy about how all this works.
And Flynn wasn't? He was just a doughy-eyed, innocent person wandering.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
You're completely ignorant about all of these things. Oh, goodness. How long can law enforcement... let's go with detaining.
Yeah. Because he wasn't arrested, right? Like, if they're talking to you, you're not arrested. But I don't know. I think I would probably, be asking for a lawyer. If the charges were that serious, I would probably be saying, hey, I do need a lawyer, kind of thing. Maybe his lawyer was there.
Maybe.
In which case you really can't complain,
Yeah. All right. Director of Die Hard. It's weird he doesn't know the guy's name, but FBI investigation. Let's see. John McTiernan.
Yeah, he mentioned it once.
He also directed The Hunt for Red October. Let's see. He was prosecuted for lying to the FBI in court. So it wasn't just the FBI. It was also in court about hiring private investigator Anthony Pelicano to illegally wiretap a producer of another movie. So he pled guilty to making false statements and was sentenced to prison in 2010, serving time in 2013 for his role in the wiretapping thing. So yeah, it was an illegal wiretapping case. The fact he lied to the FBI is incidental. He broke major federal laws.
Yeah.
But he also lied to the FBI as well as to the court about it. So yeah. And he ended up serving 10 months in federal prison. So yeah.
How does this help Dinesh's point? Yeah, of course he pled guilty.
So like as Destiny correctly predicted, none of it was the way Dinesh represented it.
Right.
I don't know why I felt the need to fact check. I think we all knew, but like we don't want to assume. We want to actually get to the bottom of things here. So,
Yeah.
Flynn did not think that Flynn comes in as the national security advisor in a new
national security advisor who lied about speaking to a foreign Russian person in charge of political events. Why would you lie about that? Don't you think maybe that's probably not a good thing if you're the national security advisor to lie about?
Well, maybe or maybe not. Or it could be. Hold on. No, hold on. Wait. I mean,
it could be. It could not. Are you serious? You're in the government as a national security advisor. You're talking to a foreign national off the record in some shady meeting in a Trump Tower and asking them for dirt on your political opponents, and you think that's fine?
It's not compromising. Shit. It's not putting national security at risk or anything. No. What do you mean?
Wow.
And the worst part is it's just so stupid because he could have just said, I'm the national security advisor. I can't talk about this. Like, what are they going to do?
If you are in the CIA or the NSA or or in the security agencies, you lie a lot. You lie a lot as part of your diplomacy. You lie a lot as part of what you're paid to do. It is your job to mislead foreign governments.
Not to an FBI investigation, my guy. If you are in the CIA and you are being investigated by the FBI and they ask you a question about something that you probably should lie about, you will go, I cannot answer that for reasons of national security. You need to go through this process in order to get that information. But he is the head of what the hell are you talking about, Dinesh? No, you don't lie to the FBI. Like,
As a matter
if
of policy, you should not, you shouldn't be lying to foreign governments either. Like there's certain tasks in counterintelligence, like cloak and dagger spycraft shit, where you may be required to mislead foreign governments. But like, just as a member of the State Department, no, don't do
No.
that. Because when the Russians see that you as a State Department rep have lied to them, they're going to be vexed with you.
Yes. But also you may have to, but what you don't do as an operative is lie to your own country. That's the thing. You may
That's a
lie,
double agent
mislead,
shit.
you know, exactly. Like you don't go back and like your supervisor says, what did you do? And just because you just used to lying, so that's what you do. You go, oh, well, I found no Russian interference whatsoever. Like you don't do that. That's something that will get you in big trouble. The whole thing is to not, I mean, seriously, Dinesh, this is ridiculous. Like, if you could only see how absurd this seems. Like, oh, it's just a knee-jerk reaction to lie, so he lied to the FBI. Would anybody else, you know, if I'm like, oh, well, I'm a salesperson, you know, in a store, you know, I have to lie all the time. So when the FBI asks me a question about my involvement, I just lied. You know, it's not my fault. Would that fly in any way? Of course not. That's absurd. But this is rewriting history. It's revisionism. That's what it is. Revisionism. Just let's change stuff so it's different than what actually happened. They're doing it with the January 6th thing. Let's just revise it so there were no people with weapons or nobody did violence. It was all just peaceful protesters. They are revising what we know to be true, and we cannot let them gaslight us. And I'm glad Destiny is holding his feet to the fire. And it's actually helpful that people, I mean, if I was there, I couldn't help but laugh either. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's literally worthy of ridicule. And yet, fuck. Like it's never ending with these assholes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's ubiquitous, you know. They're rewriting the Smithsonian. Oh, slavery was just a, you know, a grand adventure for our African friends, you know.
Ugh, disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Stop
The
to
operative
mislead
word,
people
foreign.
domestically.
Not domestically.
Hold on.
You don't mislead your
Stop.
own agencies.
Stop.
You're
Stop
acting
acting
like
like hold on. You're acting. You asked me a question, which is there a reason for Flynn? Let's just say he met with Mr. X, and he is now asked, did you meet with Mr. X? And Flynn could have many good reasons for saying, no, I didn't. Okay, so did Flynn lie? Yeah, he did.
Wait,
Did
give one reason why he should lie to our own FBI about that.
It could be that Flynn is dealing with foreign policy. The FBI comes in. Who knows what they told Flynn? Let's say they told Flynn, look, we're just investigating embezzlement inside the White House. We need to ask you a bunch of questions. We don't know what they said to Flynn. That's the key point. They come to Flynn under one pretext, and they're trying, and the key point here is intention. They came to entrap him. That's the beauty of what Comey said.
So what do you think?
It's still not how
That's
entrapment
not
works.
entrapment. No, they didn't force him to lie. They didn't set him up to lie. He just lied. And I might add, their investigation uncovered that he was taking money from foreign entities. He was taking money from them. What possible reason could a person in that position be taking money that he does not declare from foreign countries and operatives from foreign countries? What possible reason could that be?
Which is why that sort of thing is expressly prohibited. I mean, hell, as a
Yeah.
private citizen, if you start taking money from foreign governments and not declaring it, you become under investigation. There's a great deal of suspicion. Remember the Rosenbergs, right? Like, they were just citizens and they took money from Russia, and it turned out they were spies, you know? Like, you can't do that, especially at a high national security level position.
Entrapment is.
Entrapment,
Entrapment is when I ask you a question, you lie?
no, entrapment is where you basically go to a guy that you have no basis to suspect, right?
This is a really good line too. When somebody demonstrates, when they multiple times call something a thing that it definitely is not, call them on it. Say, what do you think that word means? Because they're definitely going to make themselves look pretty silly.
Mhm.
In other words, they didn't know. They weren't saying that Flynn did anything. They're like, let's see what we can get on Flynn.
So no, entrapment is when you
and I
entice
find
or
it's
force
real.
somebody to commit a crime that they wouldn't have otherwise committed. If a police officer walks up to you and they say, hey, do you want to buy some illegal drugs? And you say, yeah, sure, that's not entrapment. If a cop comes up to you and he says, you better buy this drug or I'm going to beat the shit out of you or whatever, that would be entrapment. Entrapment is not, I ask you questions and you oopsies lie to me about communicating with Russians. That's the national security advisor. Jesus,
Well,
right? Like that's on you at that point. Sorry.
I think that when the government sets out to entrap one of their own in this way, this is just downright diabolical.
Not entrapment. Not entrapment. Not entrapment
And-
in any way, shape, or form.
And to be clear, most administrations tend to have this circle the wagons, back the blue kind of attitude about things. To entrap one of their own requires such an overwhelming self-fucking that the president cannot save you. It is not politically expedient for him to stick his neck out to protect your ass, you know?
Well, he pardoned him. He pardoned him. So he did save him eventually. So yeah.
Yeah.
And
Then why is Trump?
you know, like, he became a national security advisor to Trump for his 2016 presidential campaign. In 2017, he retroactively registered as a foreign agent, acknowledging in 2016 he had conducted paid lobbying work that may have benefited Turkey's government. Right? So he basically took money from Turkey, and then a year down the track, when he was being investigated, background investigated to become the national security advisor, he went, oh yeah, I'll register that I was a foreign agent back then when I did it. And somehow got away with that. I don't know how he got away with that. But he made these false statements. And like, he isn't some kind of spy. He's the national security advisor, having a clandestine, undocumented meeting with a foreign agent in Trump Tower, discussing dirt on their political opponents. There is absolutely no way the national security advisor should be doing that. That is absurd.
Yeah. It's just it's a fucking clown show up in here. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Failed to do it with his political opponents despite being so hungry to do so? Or do you agree, for instance, that the Hunter Biden stuff was just outlandish, given that the confidential informant that entire investigation started with, of which Jordan and Gomer, nobody found any good solid information about this, about Hunter Biden engaged in illegal overseas, not reporting income or whatever. The entire start of that was a confidential informant who's now admitted to lying completely about the origination of that story.
Okay, leave.
Okay, so that brings
Okay,
us into
yeah.
Hunter Biden, which is going to be our
Oh,
big
wow.
for the tune in next week for more on Hunter Biden's laptop.
You know what? If nothing else, this really is showing the sheer volume of bullshit this administration over their 2 terms has peddled. Like, the sheer volume is incredible. This is a herd of buffalo worth of just crap that they have spilled out here. Because I honestly had forgotten about some of this stuff. I agree. I think it was I can't remember who said it. I think it was I can't remember who said it earlier, but yeah, this stuff you forget about, and then they bring it up and go, like, yeah, that was outrageous then. And there's been so much since that. I think it was maybe it was Miranda, or maybe it was Megan Fox's giant. I think it was Megan Fox's giant boobs, to be honest with you. But yeah, I all of this stuff. I remember being staggered that the National Security Advisor is having a clandestine meeting with Russians.
Yeah.
I,
It
Wow.
used to be like big news, but now it's like, oh, of course, it's just what they do. Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah.
All right. So far, I continue to be not impressed with Dinesh, although we learned some interesting unrelated things today, and I have never, that I can recall, seen a debate where somebody said such a ridiculous response to a direct question that the audience laughed loud enough the microphones picked it up.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and
It was
he
impressive.
he is absolutely being stumped. Like why did he fire Comey from the investigation? He can fire Comey. He has that power to do so. And I think that what Destiny said afterwards, that like whenever we're talking about whether somebody should or shouldn't do something when it's the Democrat side, it's about morality. It's about whether they ought to do it. Whenever they're talking about it on Trump's side, it's does he have the power to do that? And it's ridiculous because that's not what we're talking about. Like they're like, oh, well, he can direct the military however he wants. No, the question is, should he direct it in that way?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't answer that. They just say he can do that. And it's like, but that's not what we're talking about here. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the poorest responses I have ever heard in my entire life. Why did he remove the person? Well, he can do that. Yeah, and why did he do it? Well, he can do it. Because he was a slime ball.
Yeah.
Like out of the two people here, James Comey, who I'm not a huge fan of, and Donald Trump. Donald Trump is definitely the biggest slime ball. I didn't see Comey in the Epstein files.
That's true.
That would have been a good response from Destiny. Really, is a slime ball. Was Comey in the Epstein files, or was Trump in the Epstein files? Oh, it's Trump? Yeah, of course he was. He's throughout them. Is Comey breaking the law by not releasing those files? Trump is. I would like them to be talking more about that stuff, to be honest with you. But, fair enough.
Maybe
There's
we'll
a
get
lot
to
to
it.
go through. Maybe they will.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. So just for a quick rundown of some of the upcoming topics. So we're going to pick up with Hunter Biden's laptops and what that was all about, and the confidential informant just making shit up in the first place. But there's more on Qatar. There's Kushner. There's NATO and defense spending. There's debt stuff, inflation stuff, creation of money, fractional reserve banking, whatever the fuck that is. There's a lot still to come.
Fractional reserve banking's like sort of complex, but what it means is that when a bank lends money, right, it doesn't have the capital on hand in order to lend that money. What it does is it keeps a fraction of the capital and then generates more money based upon it, like upon its capital. So that's sort of fractional reserve. So it will keep a reserve of money, but it will lend out more than it has in reserve in order to sort of, facilitate loans, essentially. And it will hold those loans as being part of its capital because people need to repay them. But what it doesn't do is actually cover, like if everybody defaults, it can't cover the amount of default because it doesn't actually have that money there, right? So basically it just means that you lend out more than you actually have access to, and it becomes debt for the bank. And it's not considered debt because you are still owed that money to you.
Okay. Yeah. I was familiar with the principle, just not the name for it. It's
Yeah.
The last time I looked into it was shortly after the mortgage collapse, but at the time it was 10 to 1. So for every dollar you put in a savings account, the bank can now loan someone else $10.
Right, exactly. So that's sort of that's fractional reserve banking. It's how just about every single bank operates. That's basically how they operate. And usually, if the loans are repaid, it's not a problem. But if they're not, you get like the housing crisis, where there's a bubble of people going default on their housing repayments, and the bank just does not get that money back, and the entire thing, they don't have assets to cover what they owe to people anymore. Because don't forget, they take the money from the Federal Reserve and then distribute that money out, kind of thing. So they still need to repay that to the Federal Reserve, kind of thing. So it's all about basically taking a loan from another bank or another financial institution or something else, and then lending while keeping a fraction of that money to yourself, basically, as your own assets in order to cover it.
Yeah, and it goes badly the other way around too. Like when, well, I mean, a great example is it's the Great Depression, when people started trying to withdraw all their money from the banks because the banks don't actually have all the money that's on deposit.
Right, exactly. Yep.
So, oops.
Oops. Yeah. Look, there's been some arguments about it. I think as long as it's well regulated and they are being upfront and that they're correct about their evaluations. Just so much went wrong in that housing crisis. Like so many companies were doing the wrong thing by manipulating the evaluations of the what were they? They were tranches, like groups of shares associated with marketing. The evaluations went wrong. They were giving out loans to people that wouldn't be able to repay them. So much was done wrong by the banks. I think it can work as long as there is strict regulations around that, but there wasn't. It was a frigging free for all. And the only person that went to jail over it was some random banker over, like, in some state that was just doing everything that everybody else was. It was like, people should have gone to jail for violating regulations on that, and nobody did. That was the disgusting thing. That and them bailing it out, that was disgusting. But, the fact that no one was held to account for that is disgusting, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was pretty infuriating. My own brush with the mortgage industry was a couple of years before the bubble burst, but just the sheer amount of blatantly, aggressively illegal shit that was being done. And to be somewhat fair, the bank I worked with wound up getting the largest penalty ever awarded in the United States at the time. But nobody went to jail, even though they were breaking lots of laws very aggressively.
Well, the problem with that is they'll just say, oh, well, that's the cost of doing business, and that's a problem when we start to say that, hey, a penalty for breaking the law is just the cost of doing business. That's a problem. That's a real problem. Because, the people doing it, I mean, so what? They get bailed out, nothing really happens, they don't give a shit. They don't care.
Yeah, there were effectively no consequences. Like, yeah, they paid a gigantic penalty and took a black mark on their reputation, but it was only a fraction of the money they stole from their own customers. Like, the way things bore out, like all the affected households, we got a portion of a effectively class action settlement. And in my case, the bank stole over $50,000 worth of equity, and my settlement was like $600. I'm like, great, I'll just buy a new house with $600.
Yeah, sounds likely. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, and that's the problem. And plus, if you find the company, it's usually not the CEO or the people making decisions that are being penalized. It's the shareholders, right? Who may, I mean, yes, if the CEO is a shareholder, one might slightly affect him as well. But generally it's just the general shareholders that get hit, and they didn't make the decisions. They didn't do the crime. So it really is a problem with our system that we're penalizing people who really didn't do anything wrong, except that they invested in a company where the CEO was really dodgy. Like that's a problem. Should be the CEO going to jail who made these decisions, but that doesn't happen, and it's ridiculous. It makes me mad. So I'm going to shut up about it because I probably won't stop.
That's relatable. Alrighty,
Yeah.
folks. Well, thank you all so much for joining. It's as frustrating as these kinds of debates can be. There's still a lot to talk about. There's a lot to laugh about, especially at Dinesh. And it's always better
Dinesh,
with you folks here to join us. So
I found that hilarious, to be honest with you. Like, he is ridiculous.
I feel like he's cultivating the character or something. It's like no one is this inept unless it's on purpose. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, the disingenuousness of him, like you can see him trying to come up with an excuse. He seems so, it's unbelievable, as in there's no way you can believe it. Like, if anyone believes Dinesh watching this, I have serious doubts about your ability to think in any way. Like, seriously, this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry, it just is.
Yeah, it really, really is. Alrighty, folks, we'll call it here. Remember, subscribe over at Mark's. Join us next week, same bat time, but the other bat channel.
Different channel. Yes. The other channel.
It'll be fun. What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yay. And let's see, how does I'm debating who's ending to steal today. Piracy.
Oh, okay. Piracy.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, avast ye lovers. It's stay logical, loving, skeptical, and compassionate. And we'll see you next time. Toodles.
Bye-bye.
Thanks to all our patrons and top-level members for December. Miranda, Karen Butcher, Jessica the Transmetal Alchemist, Robin Webster, Maya Adkison, Jimmy Tux, Ian Chen, Lilith, Ember Lynn, The Barely Bearable Atheist, Eric Wander, Jason Jacoby, Lilibal Trades, Deviant Outcast, Kelly King, the Detroit Atheist Queen, The Mighty Filbert, Secular Feelinist, and Geo Sam. And you can add your name here next month by signing up at patreon.com/betterthanember, or by joining Emberships here on YouTube at the Cinder level, which includes all the custom emojis, tons of member-exclusive content, member-only live streams, and a bunch of other stuff. I deeply appreciate all the supporters who keep this channel going. Thank you so much. Because of you, we're building a wonderful community that I'm very proud of.
Just like a spark that's breaking out.